Chapter 2025. Trap? Chapter 2025. Trap? He attacked without saying a word. Lu Tianyu did not want to say much, so he decided to kill first. Moreover, his goal this time was not only Long Fei, but also the Tomb of Night King. As soon as his voice fell, dozens of Legend Palace moved, revealing their swords. Looking up, their killing intent sword. Destiny's brows tightened, and he instantly entered a state of preparation. The commoners in Night King Valley all retreated slightly. One of the clan elders quickly came out and said, "Calm down, Master. Long Fei has nothing to do with our Night King Valley. Let us discuss this a little more, and we will personally hand Long Fei over to you." Lu Tianyu smiled lightly and said disdainfully, "Everyone says that your Night King Valley is united with one heart. Looks like it's not like the rumors. All right, then I'll give you a quarter of an hour. If you do not hand Long Fei over, kill." Lu Tianyu was not in a hurry. Before entering the Night King Valley, he had already known clearly of the Night King Valley's strength, numbers of people, and number of experts. It could be said, the people he brought crushed everything with absolute superiority, so he was not worried. The clan elder quickly walked to Heaven's Mandate and said, "Great clan elder, you cannot treat the lives of the entire valley as child's play. He is just an outsider. He has nothing to do with our Night King Valley." "That's right. Big brother, you have to consider this carefully. This matter affects the life and death of all the thousands of us in the valley. Hand him over. He is someone that the main temple wants, and he is the Legend Palace today. Tomorrow, he might be the powerhouse. Can we save him today and protect him for the rest of his life? Grand Elder, think twice." Everyone knew that Long Fei had offended the main temple. Main temple had already released word that he wanted Long Fei's head. Let alone the main temple, even the Legend Palace was not a match for him. It was not worth it to throw away the lives of everyone in the valley for Long Fei. How could Heaven's Mandate not know this? But once the Night King Valley was ridden on top of his head like that, how powerful would the Night King be? Would there still be a place for the Night King Valley in the primordial war? Heaven's Mandate said, "Night King Valley is never afraid." Great Elder, Big Brother, now is not the time to be fearless. Now is the time to choose between life and death. You cannot let the whole valley throw their lives away for you, so you should just ask them if they are willing to die with you. Exactly. Heaven's Mandate had chosen to fight, but the other elders, however, didn't move. They didn't want to die. Even if they won, there would be main temple in the future, and they would still die. Heaven's Mandate looked around at the elders who were trying to dissuade him. If he said a few more words, these elders would probably block his path, or even attack him, because Heavens could see the fear, panic, and unconcealable fear in their eyes. Just when Destiny didn't know what to choose, Ziyu slowly walked out and said, "I will hand it over." With that, everyone turned to look at Ziyu. The expressions of everyone changed slightly. Destiny's eyes also narrowed as he walked forward and said in a low voice, "This is none of your business. Hurry up and leave." One of the servants said softly to Lu Tianyu. He immediately said, "Wait, little Valley Master, right?" Lu Tianyu's eyes shone with a bright light. He remembered that Tian Yuan had said that to open the tomb of Night King, the Night King blood vein was the only option. The Ziyu in front of him was the only person who could open the tomb of Night King. Lu Tianyu said, "Young Valley Master, where is he?" Ziyu walked forward and said fearlessly, "She's at the tomb of Night King." He directly said it out loud. The entire audience was stunned again. Everyone was shocked. Tomb of Night King? This is where all the Night King's coffins are kept. How can we leave him there? Aren't you being too presumptuous? Do you still have Night King Valley in your eyes? You're right. This girl is too presumptuous. Tomb of Night King S were the sacred grounds of Night King Valley, and were also forbidden grounds. Outsiders were not allowed to enter, but now that Long Fei was placed there, it had violated the clan rules. Ziyu turned a deaf ear to the furious roars coming from around them. Tell those who have called you to leave, and I will personally bring you into the tomb of Night King to hand Long Fei over to you. As soon as he finished, Destiny immediately said, "No, Ziyu, that's a tomb of Night King. We definitely can't let anyone disrupt it." An elder immediately said, "Since young Valley Master has already made his decision, we will do as she says." Exactly. Hand it over. Now that he no longer cared about any tomb of Night King, as long as Lu Tianyu got hold of Long Fei and quickly left, there was nothing that he could do. Lu Tianyu's brows tightened as he looked at Ziyu and asked, "You're going in alone?" Ziyu said, "If too many people enter, I'm afraid that they will disturb the rest of the ancestors. So I can only bring you in. Are you going or not? If you don't want to, then please leave." "Go." "Of course I'm going." Lu Tianyu did not hesitate at all and said, "Lead the way." Ziyu said, "Evacuate your people from Night King Valley first. Retreat." Lu Tianyu smiled faintly and raised his eyes slightly. And then, as the dozens of voices fell, dozens of children from the Night King Valley were carried and landed on high ground. Lu Tianyu said, "Take them out of the valley. If I don't come out in an hour, kill them." Ziyu's forehead tightened. Chapter 2026, Fierce Tiger Out of the Cage. Chapter 2026, Fierce Tiger Out of the Cage. The aura on Ziyu's body instantly changed. The edges of his eyes revealed his white meridian. Pupil changes. It was the same around the ears. The edges of the ears were pointed, and the veins were white. Lu Tianyu laughed coldly. "You trick me here. Can only two trash block me?" He glanced at Wang Tai and Ziyu. The two of them were not even in the middle god realm, and they stopped him. Wishful thinking. He didn't even put the two of them in his eyes. Lu Tianyu said, "I advise you to be tactful and scram to the side. If not—" Before he could finish, Lu Tianyu instantly disappeared. Ziyu shouted, "Be careful!" Her white eyes flashed as she shouted, "Left side, eagle strike the sky." Wang Tai's reaction speed was incredibly fast. His black bone blade moved, fiercely piercing towards the left. He did not see Lu Tianyu's figure at all, but the sword pierced through. Crash! The clothes at his waist were torn. Lu Tianyu's body shot forward and floated in midair. He glanced at Ziyu, then said, "White-eyed, white-eared ear, is this the power passed down in your Night King? Then let's see how fast the power of the Night King's clan is." Boom, boom, boom. His figure flashed, and three figures appeared. Wang Tai looked at Ziyu. Ziyu's eyes slightly trembled. All three of them are physical. Impossible. No one has three physical entities. Ziyu's white eyes could see all sorts of illusions, but Lu Tianyu's body that was floating in midair had three physical bodies and no illusions. Lu Tianyu's mouth curved up, and he laughed. "You can't tell, right?" Shua. The three bodies moved as they charged towards Wang Tai. Wang Tai's heart secretly sank. The god's bone taboo strength on his body exploded outwards, and all the bones in his body continued to grow crazily, one after another. It looked like a monster. Wang Tai didn't care about how he looked like. Between his eyebrows, his face was covered in black bones. As long as he could protect Long Fei, he could die even if he wanted to. Appearance? It was no longer important. Thorn all over? Become a hedgehog. Humph. Even so, I can still completely remove all the spikes from your body. Lu Tianyou's 3 bodies fell and attacked at the same time. Ziyu quickly said, "Left side, front side, head. Wang Tai, be careful." 3 attacks. Wang Tai stared at one spot. With his current strength, he could not defend against 3 attacks at all. Just now, Ziyu had made it very clear that all 3 were physical. Then, one death, one another. In that instant, an incomparably sharp bone appeared on Wang Tai's chest. Without waiting for Lu Tianyou's attack to fall, his body suddenly rushed out, and he did not care about his life. He ignored the attack on the left side and the attack on the top of his head. Boom! Crack! Ah! Lu Tianyou went crazy. The power in his body burst forth crazily, wanting to break through the barrier of space. But it was impossible. He was just an ordinary god. It was still unable to break through space. If he was trapped, just as Ziyu had said, he would forever be trapped here, and then slowly die of old age. Lu Tianyou roared, "If you want to die, you have to die first." Violet Moon wasn't able to block. She knew what would happen if she were to take this step, but her eyes looked at the giant spirit coffin and muttered in her heart, "Long Fei, I'm sorry." 3 days' time was almost up. Even if Long Fei got the antidote, he would not be able to save her. She blamed herself for this. If not for her, Long Fei would not have gotten involved in this dispute. Ziyu looked at the white coffin again and thought, "I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm useless. I couldn't find the 9 steps Yang reversion pill for you. Sorry. The ancestors of the Night King clan, I'm sorry." Ziyu is useless. She's unable to revive the Night royal family, unable to be like her ancestors. After saying all that, Ziyu closed her eyes slightly, waiting for death. At this moment, the lid of a coffin suddenly exploded. Wong. A loud sound echoed out. An extremely powerful law energy burst forth. A person slowly floated up from within the coffin. Long Fei. Chapter 2027. Crazy reward, crazy upgrade. Chapter 2027. Crazy reward, crazy upgrade. Cluck, 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 cluck. A series of bone explosions. Long Fei's neck slightly moved, his hands and legs moved, and his entire body was filled with explosive sounds. Furthermore, crawling out from the coffin, he looked like a zombie out of a cage. It was eerie and terrifying. Following this loud noise, Ziyu's eyes opened, looking at the Long Fei that was floating in the air in the distance. She actually had the urge to cry. However, she did not make a sound. There was still Li Yuanba's giant spirit god among the giant spirit coffin, and was it also the great art of soul transfer? She wasn't sure. Lu Tianyou turned and saw the angry Long Fei coming out from the coffin, his mouth curled up, revealing a disdainful expression. "You are Long Fei?" Long Fei ignored him. He was still floating in the air with his eyes closed, as though he was in a deep sleep. Hitting a ghost. Lu Tianyou snorted coldly. The aura on his body moved, and his body charged forward. He instantly charged towards Long Fei. A powerful force came crashing down. Ziyu's heart tightened as she shouted, "Be careful!" Buzz. Under the overwhelming force, an explosive sound was heard. Long Fei did not move. Lu Tianyou's body spun in mid-air at a speed of 720 degrees. He tumbled backwards, and all the power released from his body was pushed back in that moment. They did not even touch the corner of Long Fei's clothes. At this moment, what was Long Fei waiting for? He was waiting. A crazy notification sound. Half a minute ago, he had absorbed all of the inheritance power of the killing principle. In just half a minute, Long Fei released the killing principle, which released 10,000 killing intents. In that moment, He also attacked forcefully, killing all the steel armor beast in the foreign battlefield with a thought. First stage of the martial arts training mission completed. 10,000 steel armor beast were all killed. 1 trillion experience. The system beep as echoed crazily. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Currently at Lower God, level 2. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Current level, Lower God level 3. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Currently at Lower God level 4. Level exploded. 1 trillion experience points was rapidly decreasing. Half a minute later. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Currently at Middle God, level 1. 10 levels consecutively. 1 trillion experience. Long Fei secretly clicked his tongue. Damn, isn't this level too high? He had even said that it was difficult to break through to the 10th level in an instant. If anyone else had heard of this, they would definitely beat him, violently beating him. It was as if Lower God wanted to climb the heavens for one more step. Breaking through to the Middle God required more than 1,000 years, tens of thousands of years of time, slowly accumulated together. Long Fei had only used a few seconds, just like that. All right, the level upgrade is over. I should have obtained task reward, right? This was what Long Fei was most concerned about. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for completing the first stage of Dragon Coffin Martial Arts Training Mode. Obtain special reward. Reward, cultivation armor. Huh. Long Fei was startled. Damn, what is that thing? Never heard of it. After looking at the stats, Long Fei was just about to curse. System, you bastard. Do you think I haven't suffered enough? You even made a cultivation armor? Are you trying to screw me over? Cultivation armor. After he went through it, his strength, speed, reaction speed, all his attributes would be reduced by half. However, if one wore the cultivation armor, their cultivation would increase 5 times. A cultivation armor was a 5 times experience armor. But his weakness was to reduce his own strength by half. Just like running with a weight on your back, once you take off the weight on your body, your speed increases rapidly. This was the case with the cultivation armor. Although he was complaining, this set of training armor was not bad. At this time, the system sounded out once again. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the upgrade reward. Long Fei's heart tensed up again. There is still one more chance to reward me. This time you better not scam me again. Old master, bless me. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the call system's reward. Immediately summoned. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining an additional Sky Emperor summon. Sky Emperor's summon, one time, it lasted for 10 minutes. But summoning the Celestial Emperor, there was nothing he couldn't do. Holy *T. Does it have to be that abnormal? Long Fei's mind tensed up. From the opening of the true cultivation armor to the summoning of the Heavenly Emperor, all of a sudden, from hell to heaven, Long Fei was still not used to it. Activate the call system. Random summon. Can you summon a beautiful girl, warrior, who's naked? Can I summon Big Sister Chang'e? Can you summon your smooth old teacher? The more Long Fei thought about it, the more evil he felt. In short, he felt extremely satisfied. It's great to level up. Completing the mission is great. Just as Long Fei was filled with excitement, Lu Tianyu moved once again. This time, an even more powerful force surged out, forming a gigantic sword Qi that slashed towards the center of Long Fei's brows. Let's see if you'll die this time. At this time, Long Fei's eyes suddenly opened. staring straight at Lu Tianyu. His eyes became tight. Injure my brother, hit my woman, die. One word, die. The moment the word death came out of his mouth, the killing principle on Long Fei's body exploded with power, as if it was a primordial power. A powerful force rushed into Lu Tianyu's body. Boom. His body exploded. Instant kill. He didn't even have the chance to resist. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Legend Palace Elder Lu Tianyu, for obtaining 100,000 experience, 100,000 God power, and 1 metamorphic energy value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the Sea Heaven Divine Sword. Trash. Long Fei didn't even take a glance. He completely ignored her. Even more so, it didn't want to waste its metamorphic energy value on it. Yu was dumbstruck. She looked at Long Fei and asked, "Is it the great art of soul transfer?" The great art of soul transfer should be the appearance of the giant spirit god. Now it should be Long Fei. Then, you didn't dare to imagine. Forget about the power of the mind-lostenic poison. Just in these few days, it was as if Long Fei had become a completely different person, an existence with explosive fighting strength. Even middle god powerhouse Lu Tianyu was easily killed in an instant. How strong was that? How abnormal was it? Ziyu discovered that everyone around Long Fei was abnormal. Li Yuanba was one. Wang Tai was another. Long Fei shook his head, laughed lightly, and said, "No, I am Long Fei." Ziyu looked at Long Fei and said, "Your cultivation. How did you suddenly become the aura of the middle god? And how did you remove the poison from your body?" Right. And Wang Tai, Ziyu's face was filled with excitement. Long Fei flew in front of her and pulled her into his embrace, then said softly, "It's fine. Everything's fine. Wang Tai is fine too." Warm shoulders. This was the shoulder Ziyu wanted to rely on. After a long time, Long Fei said, "Oh, right, let me introduce you to someone." At this moment, Night King Valley, Jojo quietly stood at the top of the mountain, his eyes sweeping the area. Destiny welcomed them at the entrance of the valley with a smile on his face. "Ha ha! Welcome, welcome, congratulations. Elder Lu has already obtained Long Fei's head." "Humph!" An elder snorted in disdain. "I had thought that the bones of the people in the Night King Valley were so tough, I didn't expect them to be so weak." "That's right. It's like a pug now. Remember, to be a dog, you have to have the awareness to be a dog. Come, call me." One of the elders stared at Heaven's mandate and shouted, "Yell, call me." A smile hung on Destiny's face as he said, all right, the Lord wants me to learn it immediately." Woof, woof, woof. It cried out on the spot. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Many of the Legend Palace began to laugh loudly, laughing loudly as they leaned back and forth. That elder gently slapped Destiny's face and said, "Truly obedient, but you aren't like a dog. You are a dog yourself. Do you understand?" "Understood. I understand." A smile still hung on Destiny's face as he said, "Sire, can you let our child go? Elder Lu is waiting for you in the Night King's hall." Imitating a dog to bark, the people of Night King Valley had already become like this. What was there to be afraid of? Immediately, the elder ordered, "Release the children. There will be more dogs in the future." Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed. After the children were released, Destiny's eyes became sinister as he said, icily, "Kill." There was no chance of winning. He had known this since a long time ago. "Grand Elder, what do we do now? I can't hold on any longer. The people of the Legend Palace are too strong." Destiny's eyebrows were tightly locked together, recalling that he had not completely written down the word life. He looked up to the sky and mumbled, "Perhaps. This must be fate." And then Heaven's mandate's eyes shook, and he said, "Night King Valley has never feared, nor will he lower his head to anyone." Back then, the first Night King made even the sovereign feel helpless. Kill them all. Heaven's mandate charged forward. Outside the valley, Li Yuanba's eyes darkened. "Sounds of fighting?" The heavenly spirit said, "Vajra, what's going on?" Could it be that someone has already made a move against our boss? Immediately, Li Yuanba's mind exploded. He did not think much and jumped down from the flying warpath. With one step, he charged forward with a boom, just like a tank bulldozer. One step after another, the entire valley was shaking. Li Yuanba roared deeply. "Whoever moves my boss, I will overturn his ancestors." Next, just as he was about to charge out, he turned around and looked at Poison Monster. The Poison Monster turned around, intending to leave. The Holy Spirit glared at him. Ghastly, just like a pair of big eyes in a ghost prison, they stared straight at Poison Monster, who immediately said, I want to go take a piss." Just looking at him was enough to scare him to the point of peeing. The man said, "Don't run around. You know the consequences if I find out you're gone." Finished. The celestial spirit vanished in an instant. Poison Monster sat down, his entire body covered in sweat, and muttered, "Where did all these guys come from? Isn't that too scary?" He didn't dare to run anymore. He was also curious in his heart just what kind of person could cause these two perverts to be so worried. Could it be an even more powerful freak? Li Yuanba rushed to the entrance of the valley and saw the Legend Palace's corpse. His eyebrows tightened. "It's these dregs again." His body's strength moved. Boom. Powerful crimson-red energy was released, and just like the enlargement stroke of the undead god of war, it quickly rushed out, filling the sky with red light. The Holy Spirit said, "Damn, the King Kong has turned into a red ox. This is killing me." Bam! 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 A series of explosions sounded as Legend Palace were flipped over one after another. "You dare touch my boss with trash like you? F*CK, your grandpa." Li Yuanba raged. The 3 doors opened at the same time. His strength. He was like a mad bull that could not be stopped even if he wanted to. Those powerhouse in Legend Palace could not react in time, and were all sent flying by him. They smashed onto the ground, and their bodies and minds shattered. Who is it that wants to touch my boss?" Li Yuanba roared. At the same time, he was also shouting loudly, "Wang Tai, boss!" The heavenly spirit did not attack. The spirit-controlling spirit chi on his body immediately enveloped the entire valley, searching for the presence of his boss, Long Fei. There was no sign of Long Fei at all. "King Kong, are you sure boss is here?" The sky spirit frowned. In the plaza, Li Yuanba massacred in all directions, looking extremely domineering. Hearing the voice, he said, "Boss, I personally carried him into this valley. He must be here." The man asked, "Then why can't I sense your presence?" Li Yuanba frowned. His idea also moved, his heart immediately sinking. I can't feel the giant spirit coffin's chi either." Could it be that our boss was taken away by someone? In that instant, Li Yuanba was even more enraged, his eyes completely bloodshot. He rushed to the front of a Legend Palace and grabbed his collar, roaring in the air, "Tell me, who took my boss away?" The Legend Palace was also in the Middle God realm, and his cultivation could completely suppress Li Yuanba's existence, but he could not. Being lifted into the air like a little chick by Li Yuanba, he was still completely unable to move. His body continuously trembled as he said, "And no one." As soon as he finished, Li Yuanba smashed him ruthlessly onto the ground from midair. Boom! A deep crater appeared on the ground, and the powerhouse's body exploded. His entire body was dyed with blood, and even his soul had been destroyed by Li Yuanba's power. He couldn't take it at all. Who? Who is it? Li Yuanba raged. On the other side, people from the Night King Valley. Destiny's eyes trembled. The throat of the elders beside him started to roll, and they felt chills down their spines. Fortunately, we did not make our move in the beginning. Otherwise, we're in for it. His strength was too abnormal. Chapter 2030, Sky God arrived. Chapter 2030, Sky God arrived. The great Vajra was too mighty. It was terrifying. The number of people on the Legend Palace's side continued to decrease, and no one dared to go up anymore. Master, this Luby is too fierce. The cultivation of the first stage of Lower God is actually erupting with the power of the middle stage of the Middle God. Our people simply cannot endure it. Hurry up and think of a way. Damn it! Seeing Li Yuanba walking over step by step, many Legend Palace S shouted. We didn't catch Long Fei. We have no idea where he went. However, Li Yuanba did not listen. Li Yuanba shouted. From the city of martial arts to the fairy grass valley, and from there to the Night King Valley, the people of your Legend Palace have been pursuing you relentlessly. Anger raged continuously. Isn't it just a crown prince? So what? If he got angry, not to mention the crown prince, the supreme emperor would kill him too. Li Yuanba pressed on. The heavenly spirit was unceasingly sensing Long Fei's aura, but I still can't sense it. But amongst all the auras of the Night King Valley, he sensed a very special aura. It was somewhat familiar. He was as familiar with the people around him as if they were his friends. However, from the Chaos Realm to the Primordial War, there was only Long Fei and 8 King Kong. Who else could it be? Everyone else's souls were absorbed by the Destiny God, and no one knew where they were now. What other familiar aura was there? The Sky Spirit did not think too much about it. He had personally witnessed the Destiny God absorb the souls of Jojo, Lu Luoshi, Long Family, and the others, and they were still waiting for Long Fei to save them. Immediately, he had forgotten about this aura. This aura is truly powerful. Is this an expert hidden in the Night King Valley? The Sky Spirit was shocked. This special aura was being emitted from Phoenix Emperor's body. At the same time, Jojo sensed her aura. Her eyes tensed up, carrying a gloomy look in her eyes. Her target was Long Fei. Of course, if anyone wanted to make a move on her, she would kill them too. We still haven't found our boss's aura. Brother Ba, the General Assembly won't. If the people of the Legend Palace did not seem to have caught Long Fei, then Long Fei was definitely still inside the Night King Valley. If it was really like this, the heavenly soul would definitely be able to sense Long Fei's position. There were only 2 possibilities for him to not sense anything. One was that Long Fei was not in the Night King Valley, and the other was that he was dead. Li Yuanba immediately shouted, "That won't happen, boss will be fine." Boom! The scarlet energy was still burning incessantly as Li Yuanba's body charged forward and landed in front of a Legend Palace. He grabbed him and bellowed, "Speak, where did my boss go?" "I don't know. I really don't know." Not waiting for him to finish, the scarlet energy on Li Yuanba's body exploded outwards. Boom! It enveloped the Legend Palace and crushed his body into a bloody mist. Those powerhouse and Legend Palace were startled once again and retreated even faster. Grand Elder, should we tell him? Tell him what to do now, and let him deal with the people from Legend Palace. Moreover, even if he finds Long Fei, he would not be able to save him. It would be better to keep him angry and take care of a few more powerhouse and Legend Palaces, and see how they continue to be arrogant. Great Clan Elder, What do you think is the situation with the tomb of Night King? Is that Lu Tianyu still alive? Who cares if he's still alive? So what? He can't come out at all. And now that the last blood vein of the Night King clan are all gone, no one can activate them. A few clan elders of the Night King Valley began to whisper with each other. Heaven's Mandate watched Li Yuanba, who was massacring on the plaza. It was just as those elders had said. Long Fei was no longer saved. Even if there was an antidote, it was already useless. It had been too long. Long Fei might already be dead, and his soul and consciousness had already been stripped away. It couldn't save him. Rather than that, it would be better to let Li Yuanba kill all of those powerhouse in Legend Palace and remove the danger for them. Li Yuanba was frantically killing. The Sky Spirit had extended the aura of soul-controlling technique to a radius of 1,000,000 kilometers. Not a single aura within a radius of 1,000,000 kilometers was spared. Not a single person was spared. Even if he wanted to escape, it was also impossible to escape 1,000,000 kilometers in such a short amount of time. Even if it was 1,000,000 kilometers away, what about 10,000,000 kilometers? He continuously expanded his spiritual sense and sensed the fluctuations of energy around him. He believed that as long as Long Fei was within his perception range, he would definitely be able to find her. Suddenly, the space between his eyebrows suddenly tightened. Boom! His body descended and landed directly beside Li Yuanba, grabbing onto Li Yuanba's arm. Great Vajra! An expert is coming. That's not right. It's a super expert. That's not right. He's a super master. His aura became stronger and stronger. 1 second, he was millions of kilometers away, and in that second, he was already at the entrance of Night King Valley. Buzz. The moment it descended, a force exploded out. The entire valley began to shake. Powerhouse and Legend Palace's gaze tensed up, and a few elders immediately knelt on the ground and said in unison, "Welcome, Lord Sky God." Immediately after, all the Legend Palace disciples kneeled on the ground. The expressions of those from the Night King Valley changed drastically. The Sky God was ranked as the god within the main temple and was the general within the battleground. The combat strength wasn't calculated in billions, but in hundreds of billions. 100 billion battle strength. What kind of explosive display was this? It's over. Night King Valley is finished. The Night King Valley Elder's body was trembling. Legend Palace and the others could not take it, but now, a super god, who was on par with the first generation of Night Kings, a super powerhouse. How could he resist it? Destiny's eyebrows tightened. This is destiny? Li Yuanba turned around and looked at Sky God and muttered, "You were the one who refined the mind-lostenic poison, right? Then you must have the antidote on you." The gaze of the Sky God was filled with disdain. It was dark and cold as it lightly swept across. Looking at the great elder's destiny of the Night King Valley, he asked, "Where is the tomb of Night King?" Destiny's heart tightened, and his knees trembled uncontrollably. One sentence. He couldn't take it. This was a god. A super god. Destiny's teeth was in the air as his face paled. He shook his head and said, No, I don't know." Buzz, Sky God's eyes turned sinister. Off. Destiny spat out a mouthful of blood. He couldn't bear it. Li Yuanba did not continue and bellowed angrily, "I want to ask you, where is the antidote?" While speaking, Li Yuanba released all of the spirit chi on his body and rushed forward. He's a bad-tempered man. He never submitted. He just did it. At this moment, Sky God raised his eyes and looked coldly at Li Yuanba and said indifferently, "You overestimate yourself. Die." Do you know what God is? Do you know what God is? In an instant, tens of thousands of power shot out from Sky God's body. It formed a circular spell formation. Buzz. With a huge buzzing sound, Li Yuanba's body stopped in midair and was tightly bound by a power unable to move in the slightest. His face turned white. The dense scarlet-red energy on his body vanished as well. One move. Crush. God is God. All the divine level powerhouse beneath the main temple were mere ants. Only the gods who controlled 100,000 planes and occupied the position of the main temple were the true gods. A god that controlled laws. Powerhouse in Legend Palace's face was full of excitement as he shouted in unison, "Lord Sky God is mighty, Lord Sky God is domineering." The people on the Night King Valley's side were livid, not saying a word. Sky God was originally a super powerhouse in the first Night King's era. Once he attacked, no one in the primordial divine war would be able to stop him. No matter how strong and powerful the Luby was, it wouldn't be a match for him. Because he was a god that controlled laws. However, Li Yuanba, who was bound in midair, was only crushed. He did not die. Moreover, he had a bad temper. But before he could find Long Fei, his temper flared up even more. He roared in his heart. Gate of limit, gate of view, open, boom, boom. The two powerful energy gates opened, and the bodies suddenly sank down. When the 5 gates opened, the power would be vastly different. A scarlet energy once again gushed out from the body. Boom! Li Yuanba clenched his fists tightly. The muscles on his body resembled steel. Ah! With a furious roar, the veins on his body bulged as a powerful force broke through its bindings. Crack! Walala! The energy disk that was condensed in the sky shattered and fell to the ground. Sky God squinted his eyes. Instead of retreating, Li Yuanba advanced and bellowed loudly, "Let's see who dies first then." Giant Spirit Thunder. On the side of his right arm, his entire right arm seemed to have transformed crazily as though it was made of steel, as layers of lightning covered it. This move, it was incomparably sharp. The entire Night King Valley was illuminated as if a miracle had happened. Everyone was dumbfounded. This big guy is too fierce. Damn, isn't this a bit too strong? Who is it? Is this the power that the lower god can unleash? What is he thinking? Do you want to compete with God? He's overestimating himself. When Sky God saw the thick power of thunder crushing down onto him, he slightly raised his eyes. He was already extremely unhappy that Li Yuanba had defeated him with a single move just now. Now, Li Yuanba did not run, but rushed down instead. They didn't even put him in their eyes. The Sky God coldly replied, "So what if you have come from hell? We still have to die." Buzz. With a hum, streams of sharp power shot out from Sky God's back. Li Yuanba did not dodge. The forehead of the Sky Spirit tightened as it cursed, "This is bad." Next, the sky shook. Great ghost pulsar. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Asterisk, his hands slowly sank down, and his fingers formed claws. The air continued to crack, and everywhere his body went, it was like hell. It was dead silent, without any signs of life. At this moment, Sky God released his sharp sword energy, which rapidly withered into nothingness the moment it came into contact with the Holy Spirit and disappeared into thin air. Everyone tensed slightly. The Sky Spirit did not make a move, but the moment it did, everyone was shocked. Another freak? Who is this brat? What is his strength? How can you cancel Master Sky God's power? This was too unbelievable. Holy Spirit, Yulin Guardian Warrior. Spirit was the power of 10,000 forces. For the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, regardless of whether it was spiritual energy, essence, or anything else, they were all absorbed from the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, and he could completely control them. The Soul Master moved. Furthermore, with his inhuman, non-demon, non-ghost physique and the power of the ghost vein art, he could easily send the divine power released by the sky god into the air. His strength was extraordinary. Every single person in the 8 King Kong had their own unique power. Li Yuanba's giant spirit thunder came down, roaring, "Go eat sh*T. Rumble! Rumble! Rumble!" Thunder filled the sky, and the sky seemed to be splitting apart. This power, the entire Night King Valley was trembling and could not bear it. Everyone looked up at the sky. At this moment, their hearts could not help but sink. Will Sky God die? He's a god. Will he be unable to withstand it? For some unknown reason, this question arose in the hearts of many people as they started to worry for him. It was because the energy released by Li Yuanba and the heavenly spirit was too strong. However, the spirit lightning lasted for 3 seconds, after which the people of Legend Palace immediately gave up on that idea, because Sky God was still standing there without moving. He was completely unharmed. It was as if there was a barrier in front of him, blocking all of Li Yuanba's strength. On the other hand, Li Yuanba was unable to hold on. The power of the giant spirit thunder began to rapidly weaken. From the lightning that covered the sky to tiny sparks, the strength of the giant spirit thunder was completely crushed. Li Yuanba was only half a meter away from Sky God. Li Yuanba looked at Sky God behind the barrier. His left fist moved and struck out with a heavy punch. The barrier did not budge. Boom! The barrier did not budge. Sky God sneered and said, "Relying on you? Humph!" He coldly snorted with disdain. At this time, as the Holy Spirit descended, the corners of its mouth curled up into a cold smile. It moved its body and shwa. Yiv Zichen moved his hands. The power of the ghost vein mantra was unleashed, rotten, and then his strength was not enough either. There was no change to the barrier. The celestial spirit's gaze darkened. "Impossible!" Sky God coldly laughed. "A mere decaying power from hell dares to be so impudent in front of me? You know who I am? I am the god of the sky, a true god who controls the sky principle." His voice was like a thunderclap. While speaking, the power of the ancient code on Sky God's body moved, forming tens of thousands of killing intent. It erupted from the barrier, not giving Li Yuanba and the sky spirit any chance to react before attacking fiercely. Boom, boom, boom. After binding their bodies, they rushed into the sky and then smashed down heavily towards the ground. Rumble! Rumble! With 2 loud bangs, 2 huge craters appeared on the plaza. The 2 craters were densely covered in blood, the blood that exploded from Li Yuanba and the heavenly spirit's bodies. Both of them fell at the bottom of the deep pit, their faces as pale as death. His aura was weak. Sky God's body moved slightly as he floated in midair. Looking at Li Yuanba and Tian Ling, who were in the deep pit, he said coldly, "Now you know what a god is, right?" Chapter 2032. We should get out. Chapter 2032. We should get out. The scene was deathly silent. A deathly silence. The surrounding people were all shocked. Finally, he understood why all the people below Main Temple were mere ants. He finally understood what a god was. Their realm of lower god, realm of middle god, realm of high god, compared to the Main Temple's true gods. They were too weak, too weak. Just now, Sky God only used a tiny bit of the ancient code's power to easily crush Li Yuanba and the heavenly spirit. There was no chance at all. Deities were deities, an undefiable, invincible existence. What should we do? Grand Elder, what should we do now? The people of Night King Valley started to worry. After the death of Sky God's son, Long Fei was now in the midst of the tomb of Night King. Now that they could not hand over Long Fei, they could not defeat the sky god either. There is only one outcome to this situation. Destroy. Destiny's brows furrowed. He was thinking, why did the sky god appear? Under normal circumstances, the main temple would not interfere in the matters of the primordial divine war. Why would he appear to avenge his son? There was no need at all. If he had casually sent out an envoy from the main temple, he would have easily crushed Long Fei. Or was he here for some other reason? Heaven's mandate said solemnly, there is no other way. We will just have to leave it to fate. We are of the Night King clan, so no matter what we do, we have to be worthy of our ancestors. A few elders from the Legend Palace kneeled in front of him and said, Master, Long Fei is inside the mountain valley. Without the mind-lostenic poison's antidote, I'm afraid the poison has already developed. Our Legend Palace had surrounded the Night King Valley for 3 days. I believe he must have died. Several elders wanted to curry favor with him and claim credit. However, Sky God did not care about him at all. He lifted his eyes slightly and stared at a big tree not far away. His heart shivered. The aura of the godchild. Did the godchild also send someone? They instantly reacted to where Jojo was. Jojo's soul was released by Zhan Wushuang, and he had also infused the godchild's power into it, so Sky God could immediately feel it. However, he did not reveal it. At this moment, ha ha ha, ha ha ha, a burst of wild laughter resounded from the deep pit, and the dense bloodstains around the deep pit seemed to have life, gathering bit by bit, and returning back into Li Yuanba's body bit by bit. It wasn't just him, but the sky spirit as well. The situation was too bizarre. He couldn't understand it at all. The space between Sky God's eyebrows also trembled slightly as he softly asked, so cool. I've finally met a slightly stronger opponent. Li Yuanba stood up. His neck shook. All the bones in his body released explosive sounds. The deathly pale look on his face had disappeared, as if he was a nimble tiger. No injuries at all. He was a complete freak. Not only that, the sound of metal striking metal came from Li Yuanba's body, and he became even more powerful. His entire body seemed to have transformed. The same was true for the sky spirit. Its expression became increasingly gloomy, as if it was a malicious ghost that was about to take its life. Li Yuanba stomped his right foot. Boom! Landing in the air, he looked at Sky God and laughed simple-mindedly, saying, You're really impressive. I like guys like you. The sky spirit also landed in midair. The two of them seemed to have been resurrected on the spot. Everyone was dumbfounded. No one knew that they were immortal existences, and no one knew what kind of cultivation they had experienced in the past few years in the infernal realm. This was an arduous cultivation that no one could bear. To create an immortal body, of course. This was also because of the eternal power of the King of Hell in their bodies. The two were combined. The 8 King Kong became the 8 Great King of Hell. He stood up again. Li Yuanba looked at Sky God and said, I'll tell you again, hand over the antidote, or I'll beat your sh*t out of you. The heavenly spirit smiled sinisterly. Ha ha! The people of Night King Valley saw a glimmer of hope. Seems like he hasn't lost yet. Damn, who are these two people? Isn't it too strong? And it's very wild. Ha ha ha. If we can cut down Sky God, then maybe that might not be the case. That would be the calamity that will befall our Night King Valley. The Sky God had control of the battleground. If he died, the battleground would fall into chaos, and the main temple would definitely not let the Night King Valley off. When that time comes, it would not be the Sky God, but a large wave of true gods. Sky God laughed disdainfully, then said while looking at Li Yuanba, "It seems like the lesson I gave you just now wasn't enough." He also did not expect that Li Yuanba and Yu Yang would still be alive under such circumstances. However, this time he would not give them a chance. Buzz. The power behind Sky God moved. Boom. Without waiting for his energy to gather, Li Yuanba's figure disappeared and instantly appeared in front of Sky God. Sixth gate, death gate. Open. Boom. With a loud bang, the world seemed to collapse. The strength on Li Yuanba's body was like burning flames as he punched out. The power of the Sky God had yet to be fully gathered. One punch. Crack. Crack. Sky God's body retreated as his expression changed. How preposterous! The robe on his body creaked as his eyes spewed fire. He made a grasping motion with his hands, empty, because at this moment, the heavenly spirit had already absorbed all the surrounding spiritual energy. Above Sky God's head, the heavenly spirit held up a gigantic ball of Shiwanabai. "Come, eat this daddy's holy source explosion." Boom. He suddenly smashed down. It fell down like a huge spiral ball. Bang. It smashed onto the Sky God's head. Rumble. 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 Sky God dropped from the sky and smashed into the ground, creating a deep crater. When she landed beside Li Yuanba, the two of them smiled. Different from Sky God, they did not stop just like that because they knew very well who they were facing and who the god of Main Temple was. Thus, take advantage of his illness and take his life. The two of them descended vertically, transforming into two beams of light as they heavily collided into each other. Boom! Li Yuanba's fists were like a thunderstorm as it bombarded downwards. "Mia said that I must beat your SH*T out of you." Bang, bang, bang. "So what if I killed your son?" "It's your son's honor to die at the hands of my boss." "You still want revenge?" "Come on. With just you." Li Yuanba roared crazily. The two of them crushed Sky God's body tightly in the deep pit, their fists hitting flesh. Everyone was stunned. However, what shocked them even more was, in the sky, the shadows converged. Sky God was unharmed as he coldly floated in the air, watching everything that happened in the deep pit. His eyes were icy cold to the extreme. Tomb of Night King. Long Fei said, "All right, we should get going." Chapter 2033 was just a little bit away. Chapter 2033 was just a little bit away. The power of laws was derived from the power of 100,000 planes. Those who controlled the laws were equivalent to the chief sovereigns of 100,000 planes. This kind of person. They wanted to die. It was difficult. The Sky Principle was even more extraordinary. You want to kill Sky God. It was very difficult, unless one also possessed the power of the ancient code or a power that exceeded 100,000 planes. For example, the star book that Long Fei possessed. Even if he had it, he still had to get the dragon-shaped mark's power to activate, and even then he could only barely kill the Destiny God's body. His soul did not die. Although the rules of fate have changed hands, Long Fei was still unable to expose them. The reason was they didn't kill it thoroughly enough. He didn't die completely enough. In the end, it was because he wasn't strong enough. Facing the laws, Li Yuanba and the heavenly spirit both could not contend against it because their powers could not yet be above the power of the ancient code. The Sky God floated in the air coldly and said slightly, "Are the two of you done fighting?" At this moment, Li Yuanba and the heavenly spirit suddenly stopped. They felt a chill behind their backs, their fists clenched tightly, looking at the Sky God that was completely destroyed by them. They were dumbstruck. Not dead yet. Not only was he alive, The sky god was not harmed in the slightest. Li Yuanba slowly stood up. He looked up at Sky God in the air and clenched his fists. Sky God sneered and said, "Do you know what gods are now?" Li Yuanba's eyes turned sinister. Sky God was high above, looking down at the world. He smiled at Li Yuanba. "Just an ant." Unhappy. Li Yuanba was very unhappy. Pretty bad. He hated how others were acting when they were above everyone else, and the aura on his body was changing. The sky spirit was not in a good mood. His aura was also changing. Only, the aura on the heavenly spirit's body was completely different from the aura on Li Yuanba's body. Buzz. It sounded like a bell coming from the ancient world. The sky spirit shook, turning his face to look at Li Yuanba. His heart moved. This move. Buzz. Li Yuanba's aura suddenly changed, his entire body releasing a gold light, his eyes also becoming gold. Diamond physique. Angry Buddha. Vajra. Among all of the 8 King Kong, only Li Yuanba was able to withstand this move, and only his body was able to withstand the immense power of the origin. However, Li Yuanba wouldn't be able to handle this attack for long. The moment he retracted his heavenly spirit chi, his eyes darkened. He knew what he had to do. Seeing the changes on Li Yuanba's body, Sky God was slightly shocked. This power, he had never felt it before. Moreover, it caused him to feel slight fear in his heart. This fear arose from within his heart, and he was unable to control it. In his world, aside from facing sovereigns, there had never been this sort of fear. Sky God roared angrily, "No matter how much you change, you are still under my control." Boom! A tsunami of power burst out. The power of the sky principle burst out. Li Yuanba turned into a golden light. Shua! He landed in front of Sky God and moved his right fist. Shua! The pitch-black giant spirit axe landed in his hand and slashed fiercely as he shouted, "Die!" The strongest technique. Diamond physique. Angry Buddha sovereign. This move. It was Li Yuanba who had broken through everything and comprehended her own source of power within the ancient world. They were the 8 heaven pillar in ancient world. Their strength could support the entire world. In this instant, Sky God's mind shook. All of them were occupied by fear. He was a deity, a true god that controlled arrays. "I am a deity. Can you injure me?" Boom, boom, boom. An incomparable power of law crazily superimposed on Sky God's body, like numerous mountains, forming a law defense. Li Yuanba's giant spirit axe slashed down. Layer after layer of the power of the ancient code crumbled. Sky God looked at the sky as the giant spirit axe continuously crushed down. At this moment, his heart trembled. His soul was trembling. Hundreds of thousands of years. In millions of years, he had never felt the sensation of death before. But this time, yet he felt death, an inexplicable terror, unimaginable. The 100,000 planes did not control the laws, but they did control a power that was above the laws. Main Temple was also shaken. In the air, the faces of the true gods of the Main Temple filled with fear. If it was them, they wouldn't be able to withstand the power of the angry Buddha sovereign that Li Yuanba had exploded. This is too terrifying. 100,000 planes is beyond our control. What kind of power is it? Who knows where he came from? Who? They were all shocked. God's mountain. The god children looked in the direction of the Night King Valley and muttered, "In 8 King Kong, 8 people have different physiques and different strengths. In God's martial continent, 8 people in Chaos Realm isn't that simple. To become stronger seems like the background of the 8 of them is not as simple as the 8 King Kongs. Someone come. Go investigate the origins of these 8 people and the locations of the other 6 King Kong." "Yes, sir." One of the attendants quickly retreated. Black Robe Destiny God, said, "Seems like Sky God won't be able to hold on. Even Long Fei hasn't appeared, but he can't block it. Truly a useless trash." Zhan Wushuang smiled lightly, turned his head, and looked at Destiny God, then laughed. "If it was you, you too would not have been able to resist. However, Sky God is not that simple." Black Robe Destiny God's eyes turned cold. In the past, Zhan Wushuang didn't even dare to speak to him like that, but now, in his words, there was no respect for him at all. This is the world of Powerhouse. This was reality. Black Robe Destiny God's heart trembled and secretly noted it down. Zhan Wushuang did not care as he narrowed his eyes and mumbled, "Sky God, is that all you've got? You can't even beat the little lackey Luo beside Long Fei?" At this moment, the Destiny God only had one last layer of defense left. He couldn't block it. However, Li Yuanba's body suddenly sank. Time. His profound qi had been depleted, and his body couldn't take it anymore. The golden light on his body instantly faded, and his pupils returned to normal. His face turned pale. The sudden turn of events stunned Sky God. The Sky Spirit suddenly moved and landed beside Li Yuanba. Li Yuanba desperately tried to restore his King Kong physique, but his profound qi was exhausted, and he couldn't use it again. Just a little more. Just a tiny bit more. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Sky God laughed out wildly. I didn't die. The smile became more and more ferocious. Now it's my turn. At this moment, the murals shattered, and Long Fei walked out of the tomb of Night King S with Ziyu on his back. At this moment, on top of the big tree, Jojo's forehead twitched. He's finally appeared. Chapter 2034. Long Fei arrived. Chapter 2034. Long Fei arrived after the profound qi was exhausted. The King Kong body disappeared. Li Yuanba dropped from the sky. The heavenly spirit grabbed onto his body and started to move. However, Sky God was already angry, and it was at the point where he could not contain his anger. Just a little more. Just now, he had almost broken through his sky defense. That was the power of law. If Li Yuanba was allowed to grow, what would he become? He was a god. He was a god that was ranked within a divine class, a god that could not be looked up to. He absolutely wouldn't tolerate the survival of such a person in the world. So, Li Yuanba had to die. No matter the cost, he had to die. Sky God was enraged. The sky changed. His right hand extended into the void and grabbed. A gigantic crescent moon blade was pulled out. Staring at Li Yuanba, who was falling, he bellowed, "The power of the sky, the origin of laws, rise." As soon as he finished, the power in Sky God's body was going berserk. He rushed down. At this moment, it was as if thousands of men and horses were charging down at lightning speed. Rumble! 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 The sky and the earth trembled. It was as if a layer of heavenly energy was crushing down on him. The space between his eyebrows was locked tightly as he stared at the sky. Li Yuanba said weakly, "Put me down here, I'll kill him." The heavenly spirit protected Li Yuanba. Behind it firmly berated him and said, "You'd better calm down." He was well aware of how much damage Li Yuanba's diamond body could cause to his body. Normal people could not withstand it at all, which was also why their 7 King Kongs could not release such power. The profound qi was exhausted. Li Yuanba was currently not even comparable to an ordinary person. At this time, let alone a single move, even the pressure released by the Sky God could not withstand it. The Sky Spirit looked gloomy as it continued to absorb the spiritual energy within a radius of millions of kilometers. The spiritual energy moved with a whistling sound, and at the same time, the power of the great ghost pulse, Art permeated into the spiritual energy crazily. Facing the sky god's sky principle, the heaven spirit was not confident. However, he just had to do it. The sky spirit roared. "Come on," sky god sneered and said, "You overconfident dog, I'll kill you now." "It's over. It's all over. I thought they would be able to kill me in a counterattack, but it's good now." If Sky God gets angry, the two of them definitely won't be able to hold on. "What do we do now?" "Great Elder, we... Heaven's mandate shook his head and said, "We can't do anything." To them, the battle between Li Yuanba and the Sky God was like a battle between gods. They were only mortals. They could only look up at them from the sidelines, unable to join. This was because their strength were simply not qualified. "Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Die. I see that you two are still acting arrogantly. Before God, all of you can only tremble." The disciples of the Legend Palace were all excited. Previously, their hearts were hanging at their throats. They almost thought that the Sky God would be killed. The main temple's gods also let out long sighs. Almost. Just a bit more. The two of them cannot be left alive. The power on their bodies is not within our control, so we absolutely cannot leave such people alive. The divine God controlling the law of strength frowned. Where exactly are they from? Why is the power released outside our control? It seems like even the power of destiny is unable to bind them. Immediately send someone to investigate. What are you looking for? They're going to die soon anyway. The gods of Main Temple were also slightly worried because this was a world they controlled. They could not allow any power to go beyond their control. They were paragons. They would not allow any power that was above them to appear. They had to keep a firm hold on their status. Night King Valley. When the sky darkened, the power of the sky god's sky principle moved, completely crushing down towards the heavenly spirit. In the nick of time, there was no way to block it. The sky spirit did not think too much about it. Even if I can't, I still have to. Behind him was his brother. Even if he died, he would use his own body to block, his own life to block, because he was a brother. The expression on the face of the heaven spirit was extremely ferocious as it exploded the spiritual energy it had absorbed from the million-kilometer area. The power of the great ghost vein, Art was crushing the spiritual energy like it was dried up. However, in these 100,000 planes, the strongest power was neither spiritual energy nor divine power, but the law energy that bound these 100,000 planes. The moment the two forces clashed, buzz, a violent explosion sounded, and the sky darkened. The power released by the heavenly spirit was crazily being crushed as the power of the sky principles surged towards him. It was incomparably strong. Sky God's expression was also particularly sinister. Powerful energy struck over and over again, as he said in a heavy tone, "Ants should accept their fate. An ant should have the determination to be an ant, a mere ant, and you want to overturn the heavens." Sky God was constantly crushing down from the sky. The gigantic crescent moon blade in his hands was constantly slashing down, with each slash releasing a dense power of law. Boom, boom, boom. After a while, the sky spirit stomped on the ground, creating a deep gully in the ground. The initial offense had transformed into the current full-fledged defense, but even so, he was still unable to withstand it. Boom, boom. Cold sweat broke out from the top of her head as she frantically absorbed the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, blocking in front of her. "If you have the guts, then kill me. If not, then I won't be here." Buzz, buzz, buzz. The streams of spiritual chi of heaven and earth formed defensive shields in front of the celestial spirit. They were like ice crystals that could be seen with the naked, Boom. The sky god suddenly dropped to the ground and retracted all of the strength in his body. He coldly looked at the huge shield of spirit energy and laughed coldly. How can a mere defense block my power of law? Boom. With a loud bang, the power from Sky God's body exploded out like a pillar of light, striking the spirit air shield's head. Crack! Walala! The spirit air shield had completely ruptured. The sky spirit's body sank down, blood trickling out from the corner of its mouth. Li Yuanba stood up with difficulty. His body moved. He stood beside Tianling and shouted, F***CK his grandmother, let me do it. He also wanted to release the diamond body. Sky God laughed coldly. This time, I will never give you another chance. One long. 100,000 planes, Sky Principle S, wildly gathered onto the Sky God's body. It was as if the sky was continuously pressing down. Layer after layer of power was extracted from Sky God's body, as though they were being channeled into his body. King of the Sky, the power of the Sky Principle that controlled 100,000 planes. The most powerful technique. Ha ha ha. Then the two of them will die for sure. Deities are deities. How can these ants resist them? He's simply overestimating himself. The god of Maine Temple laughed out loud, laughing at how overconfident Li Yuanba and the Sky Spirit were. Go to hell. Sky God released the energy he absorbed. A figure landed heavily from afar. Chapter 2035. The Terror of the Killing Principle. Chapter 2035. The Terror of the Killing Principle. Die. He wanted to crush the souls of Li Yuanba and Tianling and make them into dust so that they wouldn't even have a chance to reincarnate. This kind of person needed to be killed thoroughly. The Jedi could not leave any hidden dangers. This was also his strongest move. He moved at full power. Li Yuanba clenched his fists tightly. His eyes did not move at all, and there was no fear on his face. The same was true for the Sky Spirit. It was as if the two of them weren't afraid of death. In fact, the corners of their mouths even had a trace of a faint smile, a strange smile. Die. To them, this was a rebirth. Die. To them, it was a power that ordinary people could not understand. They were not afraid. Bring it on. Li Yuanba let out a loud roar, looked at the huge force before him, and wanted to block a bit more for the Sky Spirit. Even if he died, he had to shoulder a bit more for his brother. Sky Spirit was the youngest in 8 King Kong. He was a King Kong, so he should have taken more responsibility. The Celestial Spirit took a step forward and said, King Kong, don't even think about sharing the burden for me. I don't want to die an ugly death. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. The two of them laughed at the same time. Are these two crazy? He's almost dead, and he can still laugh. He looks like he's smiling on the surface, but he's probably pissing his pants because of fright, right? Ha ha ha. The people of Legend Palace all laughed. The high and mighty gods of the main temple also laughed. The two of them were definitely going to die. The person from the Night King Valley sighed, and Destiny muttered, What a pity. Grand Elder, once they die, it'll be our turn. What do we do now? What's a pity? If it wasn't for them and that long fay, would our Night King Valley be like this? They should have died a long time ago. I think. Before he could finish his words, a figure heavily descended from the sky. His right hand moved, palm-shaped. With his left hand behind his back, he sent a palm up. A palm struck onto the Sky Principle released by the Sky God, causing people to not have enough time to react. At the same time, it was too dazzling, and they were unable to see clearly who it was. No one would block the power of law. In this world, other than gods who possess laws, who could stop the power of laws in the sky god. Even a god wouldn't be that stupid. Even a god wouldn't be able to withstand such a powerful force. Even if they could, it wouldn't be easy. Sky God's brows tightened. He could not tell who it was, but he laughed coldly and said with disdain, "You're overestimating yourself. Explode for me. Rumble. Rumble. Rumble." The power of the Sky God's laws crazily crushed Long Fei's body. It went berserk as trillions of power of the laws charged into Long Fei's mind, his sea of consciousness, and every part of his body formed an incomparably strong power of laws. His body had never experienced such pain before. It was as if his body was being torn apart piece by piece. This is the power of law. Is this the damage caused by the power of law? Holy **T. It feels so good. Within the white light, the corner of Long Fei's mouth slightly curled and revealed a cold smile. "Come, then, let's see whose power of law is stronger." Boom! In that instant, Long Fei's body also exploded. Crack! The killing principle suddenly wrapped around Long Fei, and the power that rushed into his body was quickly killed. Rumble! 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 A loud sound rang out in the air, as if the two factions were engaged in a frenzied battle. Moreover, this side was brutal, bloody, and unscrupulous, as if they were devouring people. They didn't care about any consequences. They were slaughtering crazily, and every time they killed, they would become even more powerful. The Tao of death. Laws. To kill to achieve the Tao. To comprehend the heavens to achieve the power of law. The killing principle disappeared after the first Night King disappeared, and no one in the main temple was able to grasp it, much less comprehend the true meaning of the killing array, including Queen Night herself. Many people, even God, and the others had almost forgotten about the killing principle. It had been too long, but the fear they had towards the killing principle in their hearts had never disappeared, because it was precisely the king of assassins that had single-handedly turned the tables on them back then. He still vividly remembered the scene of millions of corpses lying in wait for him. Blood flowed like a river. White bones formed mountains. Terrifying. At this moment, Sky God was startled, his heart went cold, and the scene of a million corpses lying on the ground appeared in his mind, causing his body to involuntarily tremble. He staggered back. Killing principle. He was someone who had fought alongside the first Night King, but Night King had never placed him in his eyes, and he was always being crushed by him. He wasn't a match at all. His law energy was bestowed upon him by a sovereign, while Night King's law energy was comprehended by himself. It had a completely different personality and power. Even now, Sky God would never forget the scene of being stepped on by Night King. A cold shiver ran down his spine. Sky God shouted loudly, "Bai Qi!" His voice resounded throughout the universe. Main Temple was even more shocked. "Bai Qi! Night King! He's still alive? Isn't he dead? How could he still be alive?" Killing principle. Killing principle. This is definitely Bai Qi's killing principle. Only he controls the killing principle, and he is also the only one who can control the power of the laws before entering the main temple. Immediately report to the sovereign. He was scared. On the faces of the main temple's gods, every single one of them revealed a look of fear, because they all knew very well just how powerful Night King, Bai Qi's killing principle, was. For millions of years, they had not known what it was like to be afraid. Now, however, they felt it. However, Sky God withdrew his power. The figure revealed itself. Those elated Night King Valley clansmen were incomparably excited, thinking that it was really Night King who had revived. When they saw the man standing there, their hearts sank and their faces changed. "Boss, be boss. Ha ha ha." Li Yuanba was the first to react. The heavenly spirit was so excited that tears were about to flow out of its eyes when it saw Long Fei. Too excited, Long Fei turned and smiled at them. Looking at his divine spirits, he said in excitement, "The Yuling guardian warrior is back." Heaven's mandate's gaze tensed up. "He is Long Fei?" Those people from the Legend Palace all revealed looks of shock. "He is Long Fei?" Long Fei. The Long Fei who killed the crown prince. It's not Night King Bai Qi? Damn, I thought he was Night King Bai Qi. You gave me a fright. Just a mere Long Fei. What's there to be afraid of? The other gods of Main Temple all felt relieved and said, "It's just Long Fei. Do I really think Night King has revived? It's just a mere Long Fei. He gave me a huge shock." No one took Long Fei seriously, but there was a difference. Chapter 2036, The Fatal Jojo. Chapter 2036, The Fatal Jojo. The entire world. Probably only the godchild of the God's Mountain, Zhan Wushuang, could see how terrifying Long Fei was. God's Mountain. Zhan Wushuang's forehead tightened, and his fists started to make cracking sounds. Long Fei? Damn thing. And only he who was aware of the fact that Long Fei was far more dangerous than Night King. The Black Robe, Destiny God, was also slightly shocked. Long Fei grasped Night King's killing principle. That's the strongest power of law so far. Zhan Wushuang was a little angry and shouted, "You don't need to remind me." Black Robe, Destiny God, did not speak. Zhan Wushuang squinted his eyes and said coldly, "Long Fei, no matter how strong you are, you will only be my stepping stone. I have lost once in Chaos Realm and lost once in Devil Island, but I will never lose to you a third time, and a single time will be enough to make you perish beyond redemption. Bring it on. The good show I've arranged is about to begin." Zhan Wushuang laughed sinisterly. "Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha." Night King Valley. Just when everyone was relieved, on a large tree in the distance, the treetop moved slightly, and an ice-cold figure dropped down at an extremely fast speed. And not a sound at all. At this time, an elder of the Legend Palace sneered, "For a mere Long Fei, who is at the first level of the middle god, leave this kind of trash to me. If you can comprehend the killing principle, then wouldn't I be Night King's father?" Ha ha. As soon as he finished, the elder that had spoken earlier moved his body. Shwa. Innumerable illusions appeared in the air. The figure had no physical form. Very strong. Very soon. Li Yuanba slightly shouted, "You're courting death." Long Fei did not move. Her back was facing him, and she did not even use her aura to sense him. Killing principle. He didn't rely on his eyes, nor his aura. He relied on his control over his killing intent. Anyone with killing intent or killing intent would be able to control him. All of the killing intent and killing intent were the power of the Tao. Long Fei didn't even need to look at it. However, not waiting for him to use the power of killing intent to crush him. Puchi. A crisp sword hum resounded. The elder's head fell to the ground and was instantly killed. At the same time, a voice rang out, "He is mine." The voice. The voice. When Long Fei heard this voice, his eyes suddenly opened wide and shone with a bright light. He was extremely excited. He would never forget this voice, and a peaceful and obedient face immediately appeared in his mind. He turned around. Long Fei looked over and gently smiled. "Jojo." Phoenix Emperor, Jojo. At this time, Jojo's eyes were cold. She moved as fast as lightning, her sword pointed at the space between Long Fei's eyebrows. Her eyes filled with killing intent. There was no emotion in her gaze. Long Fei did not mind so much and did not notice anything wrong with Jojo. Because he was happy, No matter how Jojo changed, to be able to see him, Long Fei felt that it was a gift from the heavens. Tian Ling and Li Yuanba were also stunned. Sister Jojo? That's not right. Her eyes are full of killing intent. Boss, be careful. She wants to kill you. Long Fei was still smiling as he said, Jojo, I missed you so much, so much. Long Fei stepped forward. It was as if he hadn't heard the voice of the heavenly spirit. Long Fei really missed them, thinking about them all the time. Thinking of Jojo, thinking of Lu Luoshi, thinking of thousands of things, thinking of his grandfathers and Long family's brothers, thinking of every single one of them. Long Fei felt that he owed them in his heart. Now that he saw it, Long Fei's heart felt empty. He just wanted to hug Jojo. In the face of Jojo's ice-cold gaze and powerful sword energy, Long Fei had completely forgotten about one thing. It was as if he had been possessed. Boss, be careful. Boss. He's still thinking about picking up girls at this time. What is he thinking about? Ziyu muttered. Her figure slightly moved and quickly landed beside Long Fei. She pulled Long Fei's arm, shouted, and asked, What are you thinking about? Long Fei's gaze tensed up. He looked at Ziyu, who was beside him, and then looked at Jojo, who was thrusting at him with a sword. Long Fei's heart trembled as he protected Ziyu behind him. Puchi, the sword stabbed into his back, directly piercing through Long Fei's body. A snowflake floated in the air. Long Fei, even the slightest bit of defense was useless. Boss, boss. Brother Fei. The three of them rushed forward. Ziyu looked at the sword that had pierced her chest and asked in surprise, Why aren't you defending? Why didn't you avoid it? You. At that moment, with Long Fei protecting Ziyu behind her, her heart was slightly moved. What's the situation? How could I have been stabbed by this sword? Ha ha ha. Long Fei is really not well. The killing principle, just now, was not released by him. If it was him who released the killing principle, it's impossible that it wouldn't even be able to block this strike. Everyone was puzzled, but God's Mountain's Zhan Wushuang laughed out loud. Ha ha! Long Fei, how does it feel to be pierced by your beloved woman? It must be great, right? Ha ha ha! The more Long Fei suffered, the more excited he became. However, what Long Fei was suffering from was not the pain in his body, but the pain in his heart. Puchi, pulling out the sword, Jojo's expression did not change at all as he pierced down towards his back yet again. Long Fei, dodge. Boss, get out of the way. Sister Jojo, that's Brother Long Fei. That's your young master. No matter how many people shouted or how many people shouted, Jojo remained indifferent. Long Fei also did not hide, and still did not use any defense. Chi, another sword stabbed into his back, only half a centimeter away from his heart. Long Fei spat out a mouthful of blood. When Jojo took out the sword, blood was hanging from the corner of his mouth, but he still had a smile on his face as he said, Jojo, I am Long Fei. Don't you remember me? Be good and stop messing around. I'll never let you get hurt again. Long Fei said with a smile. At this time, Jojo thrust it out again. Long Fei still did not dodge. Another sword stabbed into his body. Pain. Long Fei couldn't feel it, but when he saw Jojo's ice-cold expression, his heart was in pain. Seeing that she couldn't recognize him, his heart felt as if it was being pierced by needles. There was nothing like this pain. Jojo was indifferent to it. Looking at Long Fei's expression, a voice in her mind seemed to be saying, Kill him, kill him, kill him. Jojo also did as he was told, stabbing out with his sword. Long Fei was like a puppet. When he did not move, Jojo would stab him. His chest was filled with sword wounds. Long Fei was still smiling as he slowly walked forward, one step at a time. What is he doing? Is he crazy? Ziyu wanted to pull Long Fei away, but Long Fei immediately struggled free from her grasp. There was no woman that could compare to Jojo's position in her heart, because from the moment he teleported to God's martial continent, Jojo had been protecting him the entire time. He was willing to do anything for her. She was like a guardian angel, and she never cared about anything. Step by step, he walked in front of Jojo, and in the end, Long Fei stood in front of him. The long sword pierced into his chest. While they were talking, Long Fei domineeringly pulled Jojo into his embrace and tightly hugged him. Chapter 2037, Counterattack. Chapter 2037, Counterattack. Jojo, it's me. I'm Long Fei. I'm your young master. Jojo. Long Fei whispered into Jojo's ear. He hugged her tightly, as if he was afraid that Jojo would suddenly leave and didn't want to lose her again. Jojo's eyes were ice cold. Even though she was being hugged like this by Long Fei, she still continued to attack Long Fei forcefully. The surrounding people were stupefied. What's going on? Who is this woman? Is this still the Long Fei who blocked the sky god's power of law? How could a woman do this to you? F***CK. Even if he's trash, I won't say anything. All sorts of mocking laughter rang out. In the whole of Night King Valley, perhaps only Li Yuanba and Tian Ling knew Jojo's identity, and how important he was to Long Fei. Thus, seeing Long Fei walk forward step by step, the two of them did not feel it appropriate to stop him. However, in their hearts, they were constantly thinking, how did Jojo become like this? Long Fei was everything to Jojo. How could she become like this? God's mountain. Zhan Wushuang laughed complacently. Does Long Fei feel good? This must feel really good. Ha ha. Black Robe, Destiny God, slightly shivered. He did not know that Zhan Wushuang had refined their souls, stripped them of their memories, and turned them into cold-blooded, heartless killers. This move was truly too vicious. At the same time, she was just too beautiful. Zhan Wushuang looked at the shocked Destiny God and laughed. At that time, you didn't think of this move, right? Black Robe, Destiny God said. You're the smart one. To deal with someone like Long Fei, you should start from the people around him. Even if you can't kill him, you would make him suffer. Ha ha! Zhan Wushuang sneered. Either he dies, or he kills his own woman. No matter what the result is, I can't help but be happy. Ha ha ha! This would be the result that Zhan Wushuang wanted. A few souls was nothing to him. He would never tire of things that could cause pain to Long Fei. Long Fei, this is just the beginning. Enjoy yourself slowly. Ha ha ha! I will return everything you've given me 1,000 times, 10,000 times more. Zhan Wushuang's heart was filled with hatred whenever he thought of what had happened in Chaos Realm. He had to take revenge. Night King Valley. An elder of the Legend Palace walked to the side of the Sky God and carefully said, Master, Long Fei is heavily injured. This chance is... Even idiots knew that Long Fei was heavily injured. This was the best opportunity. Sky God was not stupid. He naturally knew it as well. However, he did not believe that Long Fei had grasped the killing principle and was thinking whether there were other powerhouses around. The power of the gods was constantly being released, searching for. However, Bai Qi's aura could not be found. Immediately, Sky God's gaze turned sinister, and the imperceptibly powerful energy of the sky principle started to swirl once more. The Sky God slowly floated to midair. From above, the sky seemed to sink as well. Rumble! A loud sound was heard. Li Yuanba raised his eyes and immediately shouted out, Boss! At this moment, a glimmer flashed in her eyes, and she immediately said, Boss, Sister Jojo's memories have been stripped away from her. She doesn't even know who you are. Hurry up and retreat. Otherwise, you will be killed by her. Jojo did not stop there. Moreover, her strength was very strong. How could a power that could instantly kill a middle god powerhouse be weak? Long Fei still acted like he did not hear anything. Hugging Jojo with all his might, he said, "Do you still remember Long family? Do you still remember being bullied by the steward? Do you still remember the scene of you obtaining the phoenix blood vein in the Imperial City? Do you still remember?" If her memories were stripped away, it would remind her of everything. Long Fei said quietly. Blood gushed out from his abdomen. But this pain was not even 1/10,000th of his pain. Long Fei was very clear. He was clear that Jojo had definitely sent him. She clearly knew that she did not recognize him. He also clearly knew that she was here to kill him. However, she is Jojo, the woman that Long Fei was the first to be good to him in God's martial continent. A very loving woman. No matter what she did to him, he wouldn't fight back. The sky god floated above Long Fei and laughed. "Brat, die?" Buzz. The sky seemed to explode. The power of the sky principle was like a ferocious primordial beast rushing towards Long Fei. Every single one of these beasts carried an incomparable amount of power. Long Fei raised his eyes slightly and shouted loudly, "Scram!" Buzz. The moment his voice sounded, his killing intent surged to the heavens. At this moment, the killing intent on Long Fei's body formed lines of power. These powers crawled up from the ground and transformed into undead warrioress, directly pouncing towards them. Boom. Boom. Rumble. The undead warrior killed madly. The prehistoric beasts madly rushed over. The impact of the two powers caused the entire Night King Valley to tremble. Sand and rocks flew, dust filled the sky, but could not be seen clearly. I couldn't see it clearly at all. The expression in the eyes of the god's mountains, Zhan Wushuang, turned sinister, as he too couldn't see clearly. He was looking through Jojo's eyes, but Jojo was also unable to see clearly now. The entire sky was covered with dust, and Long Fei was no longer in front of him. Black-robed Destiny God asked, "What's the situation?" Zhan Wushuang shook his head and said, "It seems like Sky God has made his move." Long Fei's counterattack caused the surroundings to become a blur. He wasn't sure what had happened. Black-robe Destiny God said, "Jojo is the reincarnation of Phoenix Emperor. She is only the first stage of reincarnation. It is said that Phoenix Emperor has 9 stages of reincarnation. Her soul is extremely rare. It would be a pity if she were to waste it like this." Zhan Wushuang laughed. "No matter how good, can it be better than Sky God's soul?" Black Robe Destiny God was slightly shocked as he said, "You want to make a move against Sky God?" Every single deity grasped a way to cultivate, and they even had a soul that was able to sustain themselves for 10 million years. This kind of soul was incomparably helpful in cultivating the soul controlling. Even he could train in the laws from the soul. Destiny God had never thought of using the souls of the main temple's gods to cultivate, but Zhan Wushuang's thought caused him to tremble. Zhan Wushuang smiled faintly and said, "Relax. I still need your help in cultivating the soul controlling. I won't touch you." Black Robe Destiny God's mind trembled. Zhan Wushuang was no longer the Zhan Wushuang of the past. Zhan Wushuang looked at the flying sand and rocks, and then smiled. "I'd like to see what the hell you're trying to do." While they were talking, Zhan Wushuang's silhouette moved. Rumble. The Wheel of Fortune revolved. In the Night King Valley, the eyes of an unremarkable disciple from the Night King clan flashed with a trace of light. At this moment, Jojo disappeared in place. Gone. Chapter 2038 by Chi. Come out. Chapter 2038 by Chi. Come out. As the dust settled, Long Fei stood where he was before and disappeared. In midair, the Sky Principal's prehistoric, ferocious beast disappeared. The undead warrior that Long Fei released also disappeared. This move, it was as if they had reached a stalemate. However, Long Fei's goal was not the Sky God, but to divert Jojo away. The current Jojo was in his spatial ring. She couldn't let Jojo leave, and couldn't let anyone control her anymore. Once she entered the spatial ring, Long Fei would be able to carry her by his side. Let her memories fill up again. Long Fei believed that it would definitely be possible. Moreover, no matter how strong Zhan Wushuang's divine strength was, and how strong the power of destiny was, he was unable to sense Jojo's existence. The night King Valley regained its calm. Li Yuanba walked forward and asked softly, "Where is Sister Jojo?" The Sky Spirit was shocked and said, "Boss, this Sky God is a tough nut to crack. It's a little tricky." Long Fei was severely injured. The Sky God was still strong. He was not harmed in the slightest. Furthermore, he was a god. He could control the Sky Principal, so he had an inexhaustible power. Under these circumstances, how could he be an opponent? Long Fei walked up, his eyes slightly raised, and asked, "Sky God, today will be the day you die." Boom. Long Fei's aura moved. Long Fei did not bother about the ruptured wound. At this moment, other than killing in Long Fei's mind, it was also killing. Jojo's matter had provoked him, causing his heart to be filled with fury. Furthermore, if Jojo was like that, then what about the other women? Where are the people from Long family? And the 14th dragon ancestor? What was their situation? All of these things felt like a burning rage in Long Fei's heart. Whether it was Zhan Wushuang or the main temple, they would all be overturned. Sky God laughed coldly and said, "Brat, even if you have grasped the power of Night King by Chi's killing path, so what? How long have you been cultivating the killing principle? My Sky Principal's power has already reached peak realm. You're my opponent. You still dare to speak such shameless words and want to blow me up? Ridiculous, extremely laughable." The power of the Sky God was not limited to just this. His true strength had yet to be unleashed. Before he could finish, Long Fei disappeared and instantly flew into the air. He landed and coldly snorted and said, "Then take out your strongest power and let me experience the power of the Sky Principle. Let me show you what killing principle is and what it is like." Long Fei. The stronger the enemy, the crazier Long Fei became. In his eyes, the Sky God was not a god. Instead, it was a glittering boss. The silent metamorphic energy value had always been useless, but this time, he was going to make the metamorphic energy value work. Kill. As soon as he said that, an endless stream of killing intent came out like the falling of the sky. Killing principle. As long as the target did not die, there was no end to it. Power of law, the soul of the law. Once it was executed, that phrase, fearless life and death. Sky God's eyes turned sinister as he said coldly, "Then I'll show you the power of the Sky Principle." Buzz. Bang. Sky God suddenly disappeared, without waiting for Long Fei's response. Boom. With a heavy kick on his back, Long Fei's body flew for thousands of kilometers and crashed into a mountain. Sky God, king of the sky. He was once the fastest in the main temple, which was why he had obtained the power of the Sky Principle. Within the ruins, a voice sounded. Just this little bit of strength. Whoosh. Long Fei's voice rushed out from the rubble. Without waiting for him to fall, Sky God made another move. His speed was heaven-defying. Long Fei was simply unable to see clearly and could not sense the direction of the Sky God's attacks. Boom. Thousands of kilometers away, another mountain had collapsed. Rumble. 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 The mountain range had been completely destroyed. It was like a fight between gods. It had turned the sky upside down and was unmanageable. Long Fei had been in a passive state the entire time, even though he had the killing principle. But just as Sky God had said, he had just comprehended his killing principle, so he had no time to cultivate. But Sky God's sky principle had cultivated for tens of millions of years and reached the peak realm. In comparison to the two types of laws, Long Fei was obviously not her match. However, Long Fei would never admit defeat. Long Fei always summed up how he was kicked flying again and again. To the left. Boom. Long Fei was kicked flying again. This time, he had already predicted the direction Sky God would attack. Rumble. As he flew out of the ruins, Long Fei was covered in blood. He had a sinister smile on his face as he said, "From now on, I won't let you touch my clothes." "Humph," Sky God sneered. "Trash like you are simply being abused." Killing principle. It's useless to look at it. Why don't you give it to me? The killing principle, the strongest power of the laws. Not to mention the Sky God. Even any god in the main temple wanted to obtain it. Long Fei comprehended killing principle. If this sort of strength was extracted from his body, then he would become a law seed. As long as he cultivated well, he would be able to fuse and master it. This was what the Sky God had always wanted. Long Fei floated in midair and said, "If you have the guts, come and take it." Ha ha ha. Then watch carefully. In the sky, an aura faintly stirred. Long Fei closed his eyes. In that instant, with a thought, he commanded, "Behind us." His body instantly teleported, and his hands made a grasping motion. Buzz. He grabbed onto Sky God's leg and laughed sinisterly. "I said it before, you won't hit the corner of my clothes again." Before he could finish, Long Fei grabbed Sky God's leg and smashed down fiercely from the air. Rumble! He hit the ground heavily. Poochie! Sky God spat out a mouthful of blood, his eyes turning sinister. Not waiting for him to fly up, Long Fei punched down heavily and shouted, "Lie still!" Bam! His mouth was crooked from the hit. Sky God spat out another mouthful of blood. The Sky God idea moved and shouted loudly, "Long Fei, is that all you have? You want to kill me with this little power? You really don't know your limits. I am a god. I am Sky God. I am the god who controls the sky principle." The Sky God roared. 2 heavy blows. Sky God looked to be severely injured, but, however, he was not hurt in the slightest because he was a god and ordinary strength could not hurt him at all. These are just flesh wounds. From the bright red damage that floated above his head, Long Fei could tell that it was only a 3-digit number of injuries. His attacks weren't enough. Not enough damage. Even the power of the killing principle could not do it, because Long Fei simply did not have the time to cultivate the killing principle. So he was simply unable to release the power of the killing principle. Moreover, in this kind of situation, even the blasting fist might not be effective. However, Long Fei was not worried. He had ways to kill the Sky God. God, right? The Sky God that controls the laws, right? He doesn't die, right? Sure. Then I'll let you know what a killing principle is. Long Fei gave a heavy shout and said angrily, "Knight King Bai Chi, appear." Chapter 2039. You are the one I am waiting for, Sovereign. Chapter 2039. You are the one I am waiting for, Sovereign. I can't kill you? No. Let me give you a spanking. Just the appearance of damage is enough. The system was in hand. To an indestructible enemy, Long Fei had super awesome bodyguards. Knight King Bai Chi, come out. Long Fei shouted lightly. The killing principle he had was not strong enough to kill the Sky God. But he couldn't do it, but Bai Chi could. As soon as he finished, Sky God was startled, his gaze sweeping across, and said, "You're scaring me?" Bai Qi died a long time ago and became a pile of mud. Would he still appear? Brat, even if Bai Qi is here, he will not be able to kill me. Before he could finish his words, a white silhouette stood in midair. The whole Night King Valley was shocked. All the Night royal family members of the Night King Valley kneeled on the ground. White figure, god of slaughter, Night King Bai Qi, heaven's mandate's heart was trembling. Every single person from the Night King clan was trembling. Ziyu's face was filled with excitement. The first Night King, the powerhouse that was once named after the god. Night King Valley. This will cause yet another commotion in the hundreds of thousands of planes. Father, did you see that? Ziyu was indescribably excited. The expressions of those from the Legend Palace all changed drastically. The instant Bai Qi appeared, his killing intent soared to the skies. Their hearts were unable to bear the pressure that was exuding from him. It was just like a hopeless situation deep in the heart. They had never seen Night King, nor felt the power of the killing principle. However, now they all felt it. Each and every one of them could not help but kneel on the ground in unbearable pain. It's really Night King. It's really him. He's not dead yet. The expressions of the main temple's gods changed drastically. In his mind, the scene of Night King looking down on the world while standing on top of the corpse mountain could not help but make him tremble. Night King represented the god of slaughter. It represented death. Back then in the battleground, his strength was heaven-defying. Besides the martial god, he viewed everyone else as invincible existences. He's still alive. That's not right. The center of Zhan Wushuang's brows tightened as he shook his head. I can't feel his fate wheel. He's already dead, and that white shadow is only an illusion produced by his soul. Soon, Zhan Wushuang knew that it was only the Night King's shadow. Zhan Wushuang asked, "Back then, why did Night King not choose to enter the main temple? No one would miss the chance to be part of the divine class and enjoy an endless lifespan. Why would he choose to stay in the mortal world?" This question was like a mystery. Even sovereigns didn't have an answer. No one would be that foolish to give up their limitless lifespan and supreme authority, the divine throne. Why was Bai Qi here? Black Robe Destiny God shook his head. This is a mystery. Perhaps only he himself knows about it. Zhan Wushuang withdrew his gaze, looked into the distance, and muttered to himself, "It can't be that he's waiting for Long Fei's appearance." It was just a casual comment, but Zhan Wushuang's heart suddenly shook, and his eyes turned sinister. No matter what it was, as long as they stood on the same side as Long Fei, they would all die. No matter what Night King or King Kong, there would only be one outcome. Die. Night King Valley. Sky God's face turned ugly. Back then, he was completely tortured to death by the Night King and had no chance to resist. Bai Qi looked at him coldly and said, "Was it useless of you to say, I was here just now?" Sky God's expression was somewhat awkward as he said, "Yes. I am no longer the me of the past. In the past, when you grasped the power of the laws, I was only a high god. Now, I also control the power of laws, and I have the protection of a sovereign. Even if you come, what can you do to me?" Very tough. The corner of Long Fei's mouth twitched, and he said, "Don't *CK off with him. Kill him. Don't talk nonsense. Let's talk after it explodes." It was also at this moment, just as he finished speaking, Bai Qi's figure disappeared. Next, Shua. Tens of thousands of murderous aura visible to the naked eye directly pierced into Sky God's body. Boom, boom, boom. Waves of thunderous roars resounded, and bright red numbers of damage figures continuously appeared above Sky God's head. All of them were a string of long numbers. The damage was off the charts. Long Fei's heart skipped a beat. Damn, this is the real killing principle. Compared to him, the power of law that I just released is like a small tadpole. It was really valiant. Half a second, the billions of HP on top of Sky God's head was instantly reduced by half. This damage. The dark clouds were incomparable. Sky God also had a stupefied expression. He didn't even have the chance to retaliate. Not in the past. Still none at all. His Sky Principle was cultivating, and Bai Chi's killing principle did not stop either. Bai Chi replied coldly, I used to be able to step on your head. Now I can do the same. You understand? Sky God's eyes darkened as he said, Bai Chi, I am a member of the main temple and also a guardian of the laws below the sovereign. You dare to kill me? Main temple will not let you go, and even more so, the god will not let you go. Every god in the main temple was a guardian of law. They controlled the laws of 100,000 planes. Anyone dying meant the collapse of a law. Every 100,000 planes were in chaos. F***CK. I hate threats. Kill him. Long Fei shouted. He could not wait any longer. Last time, Destiny God exposed a god's holy sword. There was no meaning in it at all. This time, he had to make a huge scene. Long Fei's strength could not do it. However, the power of Bai Chi's killing principle could kill Sky God more thoroughly. Bai Chi replied, As you command. Yes. The meaning of these two words shocked everyone present. Bai Chi was Long Fei's subordinate. Was he his subordinate? Otherwise, why would he use the word obey? The faces of those people from the Night King Valley turned green, cold sweat trickling down their backs. Luckily, they did not do anything to Long Fei. Otherwise, they would not even know how they died. The Sky God shouted, Bai Chi, you dare? Long Fei, if you kill me, you will die a horrible death. You dare oppose the main temple? Do you want to die for sure? Sky God roared. The corner of Long Fei's mouth lifted and said, It's not that I want to oppose the main temple. It's that you guys are against me, your father. Come, then let's see who kills who first. Kill them all. Long Fei roared. The Destiny God had made him unhappy. The main temple had made him unhappy, and the Sovereign King had made him unhappy as well. It was they who provoked Long Fei first. Then you can't blame him. Bai Chi moved, the power of the killing principle congealing into a killing sword. Sky God's face turned pale white. His body trembled, and his voice trembled. He was very clear in his heart about the power of this sword. Save me, Lord God, save me. Rumble. The sky split open. A huge shadow of main God broke through the air. Long Fei grinned and laughed, saying, Hee hee, I am waiting for you. The idea moved. The call system was activated. Sky Emperor, get out here. F***CK, this god of war. Chapter 2040. The Sovereign is about to explode. Chapter 2040. The Sovereign is about to explode when he was killing the Destiny God. The Sovereign appeared. Would he not appear when he was killing the Sky God? Since you like to appear, then let's do it together. Thus, Long Fei had already thought about it. The sky split open as the shadow of main God appeared. The corner of Long Fei's mouth lifted slightly, revealing an excited expression. This time, you F***King can forget about escaping. Sky Emperor, kill him for me. The summoning power moved. On the other side of the sky, a giant figure descended from the sparkling divine light. The scene was like, he was like the Jade Emperor. He was dressed in white, and his entire body emitted an aura of power that looked down on everything. Extremely powerful. This was a call from the system. It lasted for 10 minutes. Everyone raised their heads to look at the sky. On one side was the shadow of main God, and on the other was the heavenly emperor that they had never seen before. Shadow of main God shivered. Long Fei grinned. Haven't you seen it before? Long Fei, this is the primordial war god, one of the 100,000 planes that I have ruled over. No one can escape from me, not even the powerhouse from the other realms. He was the ruler of 100,000 planes. He was a ruler maker of the 100,000 planes. He controlled everything. No matter how strong a person was, they would still be restricted by the law that he set down. This was the chief sovereign. Sky God laughed out loud and said, Long Fei, did you hear that? Fighting with Lord God. You are not qualified. Ha ha. Long Fei laughed coldly and said, Then I'll let you know what qualifications are today. Celestial Emperor. Kill them all. As soon as the order was given, the massive shadow of the Celestial Emperor moved. At the same time, Long Fei looked at Sky God in disdain. Is this the end? Bai Qi, kill him. Bai Qi followed suit. Long Fei stood in place, looking at the sky, and thought to himself, no matter whether I kill them or not, today one will explode, and no one can stop me. The Celestial Emperor made a move. It was like pulling apart rotten weeds. Shadow of main God was also furious. His eyes turned sinister as his anger soared. Last time, Long Fei did not dare to make a move on him, but this time, Long Fei made a move on him directly, and he was very unhappy. He was the Jizun of the 100,000 planes. If he dared to make a move on him, it would be challenging his dignity. 100,000 planes. He could not allow such a person to remain in his world. Absolutely not. All rights of heaven, law binding, set for me. The sovereign roared savagely, and from behind him, more and more law-binding powers exploded forth, as though hundreds of millions of thin lines were intertwining with the Celestial Emperor. Furthermore, it was impossible to avoid the power of the law-bind. The entire 100,000 planes is filled with the power of a sovereign. The main thing is that since you are in his world, you cannot avoid it. This was also the power that the mysterious man controlled. If it's the real face, then, unimaginably powerful, boom! With an explosive sound, the Celestial Emperor was instantly bound. Long Fei's heart shivered, and he thought to himself, Damn, is the Heavenly Emperor such a dish? Sky Emperor's name was too frightening. However, Long Fei did not know how strong he was. Perhaps he was only called the Heavenly Emperor, not the Emperor who controlled the heavens. Long Fei's heart slightly tightened, and he thought to himself, Don't be fooling around with me, system? The shadow of main God angrily rebuked. In my world, even the primordial powerhouse has to kneel down to me. Who can be disobedient? Long Fei, I gave you a chance. I made you into a divine child, made you into a divine class, and made you the controller of the main temple, yet you do not know what is good for you, killed the destiny god, and restrained your emotions. Do you think I would be afraid of you? The sovereign's voice echoed throughout 100,000 planes. Boom, boom, boom. Be it the main temple or the legend palace, they were all shaken. They never thought that Long Fei had rejected the offer of the godchild. The most shocked and displeased was the god's mountain's Zhan Wushuang. So, Zhan Wushuang clenched his fists tightly, his teeth chattering loudly, extremely unhappily. So that's why he gave me the things he didn't want. Ah! Zhan Wushuang bellowed. At this moment, the power of defense law and the power of destiny both burst forth, forming a violent explosion. Anger soared. It was as if Zhan Wushuang had humiliated Zhan Wushuang once. The feeling drove him crazy. He had thought that he was the godchild's chosen one, but it was something that Long Fei did not want. Zhan Wushuang looked up into the sky at the gigantic shadow of Main God. His eyes slowly squinted, his killing intent getting stronger. Black Robe, Destiny God, smiled slightly. Night King Valley. Long Fei laughed. Godchild is nothing. I am not going to be a godchild, but the ruler of 100,000 plains. As soon as he finished, Shadow of Main God roared, Impudent! Long Fei bellowed, This daddy is being too presumptuous. What are you talking about? The idea moved. Tai Ten King moved the star book. Long Fei followed along the idea as they moved, channeling an incomparably strong energy. At this moment, the heavenly emperor that was bound by the laws suddenly broke through his restraints, instantly disappearing into the void. Rumble! Boom! 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 At this time, a layer of sky came crashing down. Heavens! A layer of sky acted as a weapon, and a heavy bombardment occurred. This move was also an unavoidable one. He was the celestial emperor. In his world, he also controlled everything. Shadow of Main God raised both his eyes as his heart trembled. This is my world. All the rules are set by me. I don't care who you are. Don't even think about harming me. Boom, boom, boom. His strength was like a pillar as it rumbled in the sky. However, it was completely useless. His power was completely absorbed by the sky. Layer upon layer of critical hits. Layer after layer. Shadow of Main God felt an endless amount of pressure and was overwhelmed with shock. This was his world. Before he broke the rules, he was invincible. But now, his strength, however, was unable to break through the heavens, because this sky was not the sky of the 100,000 plains. The heavenly emperor said, A rule maker? I'm still. As for those overlords who control the heavenly Tao, who do you think you are? Rumble! He pushed with all his might. The sky split open as a powerful attack was launched. Shadow of Main God tried his best to resist, but he couldn't stop it. The gigantic shadow was constantly being crushed. Ah! Ah! The sovereign roared angrily, his body exploding with one wave of power after another. However, his shadow continued to compress. Crack! He couldn't hold on any longer. Long Fei was incomparably excited. Seeing the shadow of Main God constantly shrinking and cracking, his entire body seemed as if he had been injected with chicken blood. His eyes flashed with a bright light. Explode! Explode! It's about to explode. Ha ha! A sovereign was about to explode. Chapter 2041. Main God Fragment. Chapter 2041. Main God Fragment. How powerful was the Celestial Emperor? Even if it wasn't part of the rules set by the sovereign. But in the instant he was entangled by the law energy of the sovereign, he quickly transformed and absorbed it. In but a few seconds, he had completely mastered the law energy of 100,000 planes. This was why he could so easily break through. The surge of energy in the void brought the world he was in back to him, the crushing pressure of the heavens. Who could resist? Shadow of Main God. He couldn't stop it at all. Long Fei was ecstatic. Explode, explode, explode. So what if you are a sovereign? You F***er, why don't you show me your arrogance now? Ha ha ha. The Sky Emperor did not let him down. The system did not let him down either. The call system is interesting. Ha! Shadow of Main God was crushed speechless. Incomparable rage. In front of 100,000 faces, he was a paragon, yet he was the one to be crushed. This was a humiliation to him. The sovereign said in a deep voice, Long Fei, once my real face returns, it will be your funeral. Just you wait. Rumble! A loud sound echoed as Shadow of Main God, who was in the air, suddenly exploded. Long Fei's heart tensed up. Exploded? Did he escape? Long Fei was a little nervous in his heart. This was the shadow of main god. And although he was not a real face, he was still a sovereign, the most powerful being in the world. At least a main artifact, or something like that would have to be found, right? Long Fei waited excitedly. At this time, as expected, the system beeped. Long Fei's heart tightened. His heart was blooming with joy. As long as it exploded, then it would definitely be a holy artifact that could defy the heavens. Ha! Come on, great master system, come on. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Shadow of Main God for obtaining 1 experience, 1 holy power value, 0 metamorphic energy value. Hearing this, Long Fei immediately pointed his middle finger at the system. Fuck, are you King messing with me? The system sounded out once again. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Main God Fragment. This is another godly horse. Does the Main God Fragment have an egg for it? Long Fei looked at the Main God Fragment's attribute, and his entire being seemed to be in a bad state. Your sister, you still can't use your metamorphic energy value to reinforce her. What's the use of it? Should I use it to forge equipment? Yes. Just use you to refine. My Yama edge can still be inlaid. Just use your Main God Fragment to level it up. Perhaps you can even tell me the level of the main artifact. Long Fei did not know. How strong were the Main God Fragment? The reason why it was unable to use metamorphic energy value to strengthen it was because its current level was already one of the strongest existences in the 100,000 planes, and it was no longer able to break through. The shadow of Main God in the sky exploded. Long Fei obtained a Main God Fragment. At the same time, all the gods in Main Temple moved. To them, if they could obtain 1 Main God Fragment, it was equivalent to obtaining 1 main artifact. However, not waiting for them to enter the primordial divine battle dimension, the figure of a disciple from the Night King Valley flashed. After stopping for half a minute, he held a crystal-clear piece in his hand. God's Mountain, Zhan Wushuang, was wild with excitement. Main God Fragment. Ha ha ha. Main God Fragment. With it, my God's shield, my defense law, my law of fate. Even the soul controlling will receive a powerful boost. Ha! Long Fei, I really have to thank you. Zhan Wushuang laughed wildly. No one expected Long Fei to be able to kill Shadow of Main God. He was so berserk that he even killed sovereigns. This was challenging 100,000 planes, and this was making the world even more of an enemy. Black Robe Destiny God slightly said, with the Main God Fragment, my cultivation would be even faster. Zhan Wushuang laughed. Now, and the soul of the Sky God. Zhan Wushuang frowned. What he wanted was not just the power of the 3 great laws, but more power of law. He wanted to be the most powerhouse in this world. He wanted to become a sovereign. The Main God Fragment has disappeared. Both of them disappeared. How can this be? Who took it? The main temple was in chaos. Shadow of Main God had a chill in his heart after he was killed, and now that the Main God Fragment had disappeared, they became even more uneasy. Could it be that Long Fei obtained it? I think it's someone called Heavenly Emperor. The Main God Fragment contained this incomparably powerful power of Main God. With it, you can quickly cultivate, and with it, you can increase the speed of your cultivation of the law's power by half, so you cannot let anyone else obtain it. Long Fei dares to kill the shadow of Main God right now. Is he crazy? Now is not the time to talk about this. How should we deal with Long Fei? Let's wait for the sovereign's real face to return. The real face definitely knows that his illusion has been killed. He will definitely rush back as soon as possible. A universal world within an immortal estate. a middle-aged man's face turned cold. He immediately stood up and said, "Brother Mr. Celestial, something has happened to my world. I need to hurry back." The other man also stood up. "What is it? Do you need my help?" "It's nothing. A mere little ant trying to defy the heavens. It's just that this little ant has special powers. He actually managed to summon the Heavenly Emperor's avatar." The middle-aged man was slightly shocked, although he was not at the scene. He knew very well that the Celestial Emperor was just a clone. The man was also slightly surprised to think that a Heavenly Emperor's clone appeared in a small world. It seems like that kid is really not simple. How about this? This is one of my talismans. It can be used on seal humans, and it can also be used on seal. Leave it by your side. The middle-aged man was shocked because he knew how strong this talisman was. He immediately said, "Thank you, brother Mr. Celestial." The man said with a smile, "Hurry up and go. It'll be 1,000,000 years before you go back." The middle-aged man immediately said, "I'm leaving." The middle-aged man was the sovereign of 100,000 planes. After he left, the corner of Mr. Celestial's mouth lifted slightly as he said sinisterly, "That kid, he should be the kid from the Long Residence and the Mu clan that joined together, right?" Ha ha. Shadow of main god exploded. Long Fei only got one main god fragment and did not know how to use it. However, there was only one boss left, Sky God. At this time, Sky God was completely dumbstruck. Looking at the gigantic Heavenly Emperor's simulacrum in the sky, he kneeled down in front of Long Fei and said, "Please spare my life." Without waiting for Long Fei to speak, the Heavenly Emperor replied with a slight sound, "Boy, don't summon me to this place from now on. I won't be coming here even if you summon me. I'm bored." Finished. Without waiting for the time to summon them, the Celestial Emperor vanished into thin air. Long Fei grinned. Damn. And then Long Fei looked at the Sky God kneeling on the ground and coldly said, "Kill." Bai Qi moved. Chapter 2042. Perverted Feelings is Satisfying. Chapter 2042. Perverted Feelings is Satisfying. No. A white shadow appeared in Sky God's eyes. Bai Qi descended. Sky God's eyes dimmed, and his body stiffened. Die. Complete annihilation. Long Fei became excited again and said, "This time, you should at least blow it up for me, right? Come on, come on." He was excited, as if he had been injected with chicken blood. There was another person like him, Zhan Wushuang. He was equally excited. Ding! The system beeped. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Sky God for obtaining 1 billion experience, 1 billion holy power value, and 1 metamorphic energy value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Wings of the Sky. Do you wish to fuse them? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Sky Blade. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Power of the Sky. Do you wish to fuse it? He immediately dropped a sky set. But all of these were not what Long Fei wanted. Sky Principle. The last sound. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Sky Principle. Do you wish to cultivate it? Ha ha ha. It finally dropped. Am I going to die completely this time? The last time he did not reveal the Destiny God's law of fate. Long Fei felt that it was weird. When the god's holy sword was taken by the mysterious person, he suddenly realized that the previous time Destiny God's death was not thorough enough. Perhaps it was because of the relationship between the sovereigns. It could also be because Long Fei did not have enough power, so Long Fei did not attack himself this time. Instead, he allowed Bai Qi to attack first and killed the shadow of main god first. In that case, who could be the Sky God? At this moment, The sky principle had changed owners, and Long Fei hadn't even cultivated for a few seconds. The opening of the hundreds of thousands of sky principle S had become chaotic. Boom, boom. The birds suddenly fell. The birds in the sky lost their direction. The powerhouse flying in the sky suddenly felt as if their gravity had doubled, making them unable to fly. Power of law. It was the power of laws. The sky principle had fallen, and the laws had been lost. The sky above Night King Valley was also shaking. It was not easy to sense the killing principle, but the sky principle could be seen with the naked eye. Long Fei could clearly feel the sky twisting and turning, and his heart went cold. The laws have fallen. Order has been broken. Seems like it's true. And then Long Fei moved and immediately said, "Cultivate." Wait. Just as Long Fei wanted to cultivate, the corner of his mouth curled up, and he became secretly excited as he thought to himself, "I almost forgot about metamorphic energy value." Ha ha! Now, it's your turn to explode. Long Fei moved. Release your metamorphic energy value. It hasn't been used in a long time. For now. 100 points of metamorphic energy value disappeared, and all surged into the sky principle. Buzz. A loud explosion resounded. The system beeped. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining the peak of sky principle. Ha. He became at his peak state in an instant. Awesome. Lousy likes this kind of perverted feeling. Ha. Long Fei was laughing nonstop in his heart. He had to cultivate the power of the ancient code as well, and this was an extremely long process as well. Sky God, who had cultivated for tens of millions of years, still had an average amount of ancient code power, but Long Fei had suddenly reached his peak state. Then Long Fei moved and said, "Cultivate." Buzz. A buzzing sound came from within his body as the power of the sky principle was absorbed by Long Fei. Immediately, in this instant, Long Fei felt that he was the sky that possessed limitless power, the sky that controlled 100,000 planes. He had never felt such a feeling before. Terrifying, excited. It was incomparably exciting. Had only experienced a little bit of the killing principle, but this sky principle was actually the product of the sky god, which he grasped completely in an instant. Long Fei could not help but exclaim in his heart, "Seems like I'm better suited to the system, better adapted to the items that drop, and will be able to fuse them once I get used to it. This kind of abnormal feeling is quite refreshing." Ha ha! The instant Long Fei fused with the sky principle, the sky above the 100,000 planes returned to normal. However, the changes in these few seconds could not escape the observation of the main temple gods. The sky principle fell, and in a few short seconds it recovered again. Who grasped the power of law? Who obtained this power? They were well aware that if no one had fused with the sky principle, the sky of the 100,000 planes would still be in chaos, and it would only get more and more serious. But instantly recovering, it meant that someone had grasped the sky principle. Moreover, the power of the sky principle that they dared to reach was more intense than ever before. An unshakable existence. The sky principle became stronger. However, the most troublesome thing was not only the power of law had changed hands. This kind of matter could be solved after the return of the real face, but it was also, there was something even more important at the moment. Battleground. The sky god was the commander of the battleground. Now that even he was dead, a huge change would happen to the battleground. If they lost the good news about the battleground, then the position of the gods would be lost. Nothing is more important than this. Evil God Palace had always been eyeing him covetously, and the evil god was the first to know that shadow of main god was destroyed and that he had fallen. This was an excellent time. The battleground immediately retaliated. What we need to do now isn't to deal with Long Fei, nor is it to look for the main god fragment, nor is it to find the person who controls the sky principle. Our top priority should be to enter the battleground and take control of the situation. If battleground loses, none of our divine seats will be protected. This is what we need to do now. He woke up with a start. All the gods were stunned. They had no objections on this matter, so they maintained a high profile because they were all afraid of losing their divine positions. They were afraid of the falling main temple. Immediately, most of the gods in the main temple had entered the battleground. This also caused Long Fei to gasp for breath. The celestial emperor disappeared. Bai Qi was also unable to follow him out of Night King Valley. He had to walk the rest of the way by himself. However, there were 2 brothers by his side, and a girl from the Sumi Rings was waiting for him. Jojo, Night King Valley. Grand Elder Luo Li is gone. He was clearly not injured, but he quietly disappeared. Heaven's mandate locked down the space between his eyebrows and said, "Go find him immediately." "Yes, sir." Luo Li, an insignificant person in Night King Valley. But now, he was actually an extremely important figure because not only did he have a main god fragment in his possession, he had also obtained the sky god's soul when the sky god had fallen. And he was also being controlled by Zhan Wushuang. Zhan Wushuang was waiting for these 2 things. Once he had the item in his hand, his strength would increase exponentially. Chapter 2043. Benefactor, please wait. Chapter 2043. Benefactor, please wait within the Sumi Rings. Jojo chased after Long Fei, who was running with all the rings on his body. Long Fei did not stop for her to kill, and instead kept retreating. Now that he controlled the sky principle, his speed was already far faster than Jojo's. Long Fei said, "Jojo, you can't remember anything?" "Not at all." Looking at Jojo's ice-cold expression and the expression in his eyes that he did not recognize, Long Fei's heart ached unspeakably. How innocent and happy was Jojo in the past, yet now he had become like this. How could he not feel heartache? "Zhan Wushuang, just you wait. If I don't smack your sh*t out of your mouth, this daddy here will have the same surname as you." Long Fei clenched his fists tightly. The current godchild, Zhan Wushuang, controls the law of destiny. He had taken over everything that happened in the Destiny God. If Jojo was sent out by him, then it was clear that Lu Luoxi and the other souls were in his hands as well. Thinking of this, Long Fei became even more furious. Suddenly, Long Fei's body moved. A powerful burst of Sky Principle's energy was released, binding Jojo. The idea swayed. "Buzz. Let me see what kind of power controlled you." Long Fei's idea entered Jojo's mind, and just as what the Heavenly Spirit had said, there was nothing in it. His memory was empty. Not even yesterday. She was a person who could not store her memories at all. The memory capacity was only 1 day. After 1 day, they would forget about 1 day. Every day was a new day in her life, and her goal would never change. Kill Long Fei. After a long time, Long Fei sat quietly in Jojo's mind, talking about everything that had happened in the past, occasionally revealing a smile, and occasionally sighing with his head lowered. He spoke quietly. "Jojo, do you still remember what happened in Long Family? You're the one defending me. It's you who has always believed that I'm not trash. An hour later, you even said that you would marry me. So nostalgic." Long Fei soliloquized. He didn't care if Jojo heard him or not. He just wanted to say it out loud, so that he could use this method to awaken the sealed memory within her. Half a day later, Long Fei moved. The binding power of the ancient code on Jojo's body loosened as well. In this instant, before Long Fei could react, Jojo stabbed his sword at him yet again. There was no change. Long Fei's heart hurt, and he immediately turned and left the Sumi rings. "Boss, how is Sister Jojo?" Li Yuanba and Tian Ling asked. Long Fei gently shook his head and said, "It's still the same as a few days ago. There's no change at all." "Boss, don't worry. Sister-in-law Jojo is Phoenix Emperor. Uncle told me before that she is not an ordinary person and that she is only at the first stage of Nirvana rebirth." Li Yuanba said naively. Long Fei laughed bitterly and muttered, "I'll let her be. She's just an ordinary girl. She won't suffer like this with me." At this time, Ziyu walked up and said, "She'll be fine." She had been here since a long time ago, but she did not say anything. Looking at Long Fei's lonely eyes, she was incomparably envious of him in her heart. Even if he was facing the sovereign, facing Sky God, Long Fei would not have such a dejected expression. Long Fei's expression recovered, and said indifferently, "Thank you." Ziyu said, "Let me tell you something. A disciple has disappeared from Night King Valley." Long Fei asked, "Disappeared?" Ziyu said, "Under normal circumstances, Night King Valley's disciple would definitely not leave without permission, and even more so not disappear. I'm afraid this disciple—" Long Fei frowned. "The law of fate, Zhan Wushuang." "It's definitely Zhan Wushuang. But what did he disappear for?" "That's not right." Long Fei's expression changed slightly as he said, "He must have something, or a treasure of some sort, in his possession." Ziyu asked, "The laws of fate? Treasure? It shouldn't be, right? He is just an ordinary disciple. She doesn't understand the power of law, according to the power of those who didn't understand the law of fate. As long as the person was under his control, Zhan Wushuang could freely control them. Luo Li must have been controlled. At the same time, he definitely had to get what Zhan Wushuang wanted." Long Fei's eyes tensed up and immediately asked, "Do you have any leads for him now?" Ziyu shook her head. "Not yet. The only clue is to the north." "North?" Long Fei slightly said, "Let's go as well." What Zhan Wushuang wanted must be something very important. He definitely could not get hold of this thing. Li Yuanba and the Sky Spirit immediately stood up. Ziyu said, "The disciples of the Night King Valley have already searched with all their might to chase after them. I believe they will have clues soon." Long Fei said, "It's useless. The fate of the living beings from the 100,000 planes are all in their hands. In other words, even if your people managed to catch them, it would be useless. No one could reverse the power of destiny, unless it was someone who was beyond the control of fate. Obviously, Ziyu was not, nor were those from the Night King Valley." Ziyu was stunned. At this time, Night King, Bai Chi's white silhouette, appeared out of thin air. He said faintly, "He is right. The law of fate controls 100,000 plane of life. There's no use in not getting rid of those whose destiny is in your hands. Then it's over. Long Fei, if you want to find the third entrance to the battleground, I don't know the exact location either. However, in the past, there was an ancient entry in the northern polar region, and someone had entered from there during the last battle for supremacy," Bai Chi said indifferently. "It's just a pity. With my current strength, my body is unable to leave the Night King Valley. If not," Long Fei said, "you have already helped me enough, thank you." Table of contents. If it were not for Bai Chi's help, Sky God would not have died so easily. Furthermore, he passed down the inheritance of the killing principle to her. Although all of this was arranged by his mother, Long Fei was still extremely grateful to Bai Chi for his help. Ziyu looked at Long Fei and Night King and felt very strange in her heart. Night King respected Long Fei a lot, just like his little mistress, the king of assassins. And he was the #1 figure below the sovereign level. Yet she respected Long Fei so much. Who is Long Fei? She was shocked. However, Li Yuanba and the Sky Spirit, on the other hand, felt it was very ordinary. Not to mention Night King, they wouldn't even find it strange if the god had bowed and kneeled down to Long Fei, because they knew what kind of existence Long Fei was. How powerful was his background? The Dragon Manor, the Mu Clan S, and the ancient family S of the Universal Realm S were existences that the small 100,000 planes couldn't even imagine. After staying for a short period of time, Long Fei brought the Sky Spirit and Li Yuanba out of the Night King Valley. You also followed him out. In another place. It was an unknown small place, in front of a dilapidated temple. Although his strength had been enhanced by Zhan Wushuang's power of destiny, his body had not changed much, and would not be able to hold on for too long. He panted as he looked at the ruined temple in front of him, ready to leave. At this time, a monk walked out. "Sir, please wait." Chapter 2044, Deep Abyss Mountain. Chapter 2044, Deep Abyss Mountain, half a month later. Deep Abyss Mountain. This is the only place we have to pass to reach the North Polar region, and also the only place that Luo Li has to pass. Ziyu looked at the mountain range in the distance that looked like an abyss. She couldn't help but shiver slightly as she said, "This place is also one of the most dangerous mountain ranges in the primordial divine war." The Deep Abyss Mountain was dark and evil. It was also a place where demons, beasts, and all sorts of strange races resided at the same time. This place has always maintained that no one offends me, and I will not offend anyone. Whoever dared to enter recklessly would meet a miserable end. Even the Night King Valley, a powerful force like the Legend Palace, didn't dare to take the risk and enter. The danger was evident. Long Fei said, "By Qi, who has an ancient entry in the Northern Polar region, I would like to know what is there in the Northern Polar region." Ziyu shook her head and replied, "No one has ever been there, and no one knows what's there either. However, there are all sorts of legends saying that it's a passage to another world, some saying that it's a path to Main Temple, and some saying that it's a dark world. Once you enter, you will never be able to get out." None of this has been confirmed. Night King Valley once made a tentative trip to the Northern Polar region at his peak, but you smiled and looked at the Deep Abyss Mountain in the distance. Everyone disappeared into the mountains ahead and never returned. Deep Abyss Mountain was a natural dangerous place and also a natural barrier. He was holding off the cold energy of the north. At the same time, they were blocking the invasion of the human race. Don't even mention Night King Valley. Even the main temple, who ruled over 100,000 planes, did not know what was in the Northern Polar region. Is it a shrine or hell? No one knew. Long Fei's heart trembled and said slightly, "Since it's that dangerous, why did Zhan Wushuang let him come here? Could it be that Zhan Wushuang is in the Northern Polar region? Who cares where he is? I will kill you." And then Long Fei shouted and said, "Enter the mountain." Li Yuanba took a step forward and stood at the very front, just like a vanguard general. Behind the Sky Spirit cushion, he released his spirit-controlling power crazily, covering an area of 1 million kilometers. No matter what kind of aura there was, it would not be able to hide from his spirit-sensing ability. Ziyu said slightly, "Why did you enter the battleground through the ancient passage? If you want to earn merits in battleground, you can enter Legend Palace. Even if you are enemies with Legend Palace, you can join the Darkness Alliance with Evil God Palace, and you can also enter battleground." She did not quite understand. As long as he could enter the battleground, it would be fine. Of course. Z, you simply did not know how many people were waiting for Long Fei. Hundreds of millions of people in the Devil Island were waiting for him to clear the third passage, waiting to enter the battleground. Z, you also did not know that what Long Fei wanted to do more than just enter the battleground. Long Fei didn't say. She only gave a slight smile and said, "Going in from ancient entry is a bit more handsome. Hee hee." He grinned. Long Fei thought, "I want to have a passage that only belongs to me." Half an hour later, 4 of them entered the Deep Abyss Mountain. The moment they entered, the expressions of the 4 people slightly changed. The celestial spirit was the first to say, "Boss, something's wrong. My spiritual chi sensing has completely disappeared. The area I'm sensing is less than 100 meters. It's as if this is a special space. I can't release my power at all." Li Yuanba followed. "Boss, my side situation is more or less the same." "What's going on? Are the powerhouse approaching us?" Li Yuanba was on guard, and on guard. He listened in all 4 directions and observed his surroundings, not sparing a single direction. Long Fei moved. Buzz. Before he could release it, it was bounced back by an unknown force. Long Fei frowned. "There's an indescribable force that's stopping our ideas' senses. It's not a human, but a special substance. This mountain range is a little special. Z, you said, Deep Abyss Mountain has too many unsolved mysteries." Long Fei said, "Everyone be careful." Li Yuanba moved his right hand, summoning the giant spirit axe, then used the divine axe to clear the way. The 4 of them carefully made their way towards the heart of the mountain range. God's mountain. Damn it. Zhan Wushuang frowned, his face filled with anger. Black Robe Destiny God asked, "What happened?" Zhan Wushuang said, "The power of my fate will has been sealed." "What?" Black Robe Destiny God's expression slightly changed. He had previously controlled the laws of fate, so he was very clear on what kind of power the Wheel of Fate contained. Black Robe Destiny God asked, "How is that possible?" "There is no one in this world who can control the power of the Wheel of Destiny within the seal." "It's Long Fei?" The black-robed Fate envoy immediately thought of Long Fei. Zhan Wushuang shook his head and said, "It's not him. The last person I saw was a monk." Zhan Wushuang squinted his eyes. "Which monk in the end dares to go against me? Main God Fragment, the soul of the sky god. Any one of them would be able to give him a huge boost in his cultivation, especially the main God Fragment. If he could fuse it with the god's shield, then its defense would be unshakable." Zhan Wushuang thought for a moment, then said, "I will go out myself." Black Robe Destiny God's expression changed slightly as he said, "Leave." "If the sovereign found out," Zhan Wushuang laughed, "God hasn't returned, so no one will know if I leave. Furthermore, Long Fei won't be able to reach this place in a while, so you want to enter the battleground through the ancient entry? He is a joke. Does he think that anyone who wants to enter the ancient entry can enter as they please? Humph! Even if I don't guard him and let him in, he won't be able to get in." And then Zhan Wushuang turned into a shadow and disappeared on the spot. Black Robe Destiny God raised his eyes slightly, his gaze turning gloomy. Defense law, main artifact, law of fate, soul controlling, sky god's soul, these should all be mine. Long Fei's life. It's also mine. Deep Abyss Mountain. Long Fei and the other 3 had already gone 100 kilometers. Long Fei was still thinking about leveling up by killing monsters along the way, but he didn't expect that. He didn't even see a single strand of hair along the way, let alone demon beast. This is too strange. It's fine if there aren't any demon beasts, but there aren't even any wild beasts. What's going on? The celestial spirit pouted. Boss, I miss your barbecue. Li Yuanba scratched his head. Me misses it too. Long Fei laughed. If you can kill a demon beast, I'll roast it right away. This place is too strange. How can there be such a place? No demon beast, not even a wild beast. And Long Fei felt that something was off, but he didn't know where it was wrong. Chapter 2045. This Road to Battleground. Chapter 2045. This Road to Battleground in the Deep Abyss Mountain. Long Fei and the other three were as insignificant as ants. They went over several large mountains in a row and did not even see a single demon beast. Long Fei had completely lost his will to fight monsters and leveled up. Boss, why do I feel like something's wrong? Li Yuanba looked at his surroundings. It was the same everywhere. The whole way here was pretty much the same. The heavenly spirit said, "My imperial soul force is completely useless here." Long Fei looked up into the sky, and the sky principle activated at the same time. At the same time, it directly pierced through the clouds and saw the sun. His mind trembled and said, "We didn't move, we stayed where we are." Illusion realm? Li Yuanba shuddered, and his grip on the giant spirit axe tightened. Ziyu said, "Illusion? We didn't encounter anything. So how did we end up in an illusion?" His eyes could see through everything, but here it was as if his eyes had lost their effectiveness. Frost covered his eggplant as he said, "Boss, I can't see anything." Even he couldn't tell. This was enough to show just how strong this illusion was. "You guys stay here and don't move." Long Fei said as he turned around and rushed into the sky. He floated in the air, and when he looked up, he could not see anything. Nothing special. It didn't seem like an illusion, either. Long Fei's heart tightened. Damn, isn't this too strange? His figure fell back down to the ground, but just as he flew out of the ground for less than 10 seconds, Li Yuanba, the heavenly spirit, and Ziyu all disappeared. Where is he? Yuanba, heavenly spirit. Long Fei shouted a few times, but there was no response. Holy **T. So strange. Long Fei frowned as his consciousness quickly expanded outwards. At this moment, his consciousness was blocked by a powerful force. It was also at this time. A middle-aged man walked out of the darkness. Evil god. No wonder. Not to mention Long Fei. Even the other gods in Main Temple would not be able to detect the illusions created by the evil god, let alone Li Yuanba and the others. Long Fei had seen him before, in the Chaos Realm, and even in the giant clan tribes. He had seen the evil god. The evil god smiled faintly and said, "Long Fei, we meet again." There was no aura on his body, and he was even more ordinary than an ordinary person. However, this only served to prove the strength of the evil god, and it also proved that the evil god was. Long Fei could feel an aura more dangerous than that of the sky god from his body. Long Fei also laughed faintly. "Evil god." The evil god replied, "I never thought that you would be able to summon Night King, and even more so, that you would be able to kill Shadow of Main God. You truly shocked me. Now that the sovereigns aren't in the 100,000 planes, if we join forces, we will definitely be able to overthrow the Main Temple and create a world that belongs to us. How is it? Will you follow me? I'll give you whatever you want." Sky God had fallen. The Sky Principle had changed hands. The evil god seized this opportunity to launch a frenzied counterattack inside the battleground. But he did not win, and was even constantly losing territory and losing troops. Because, however, what he did not expect was that the ranking gods of the Main Temple had all entered the battleground, and his army could not withstand them at all. Defeat after defeat. If he continued to retreat, he would completely be squeezed out of battleground. And at that time, he really had lost every chance. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, "I'll give you what you want." The evil god said, "Yes, I'll give you whatever you want." Long Fei said, "All right, then I want your life. Give it to me?" "Ha ha ha." The evil god laughed and said, "Long Fei, you are a smart person, and you know clearly who is the controller and who is the most powerful being in the 100,000 planes. Don't think that just because you killed the shadow of main god that you think that the god is nothing. The god's power is far greater than what you imagine. And in these millions of years, the sovereign has never been in the 100,000 planes. He has always been in the outer reaches, which is the universal large world. No one knows, and you are not his match either. Together, you and I is the only chance. I can help you take back the souls of your family. I can give you everything you want." He needed Long Fei's strength. As long as Long Fei followed him into the battleground, he would definitely be able to take back the lost land and seize the battleground when the sovereign king wasn't back in the ancient gods' war. Long Fei grinned. "I do not know how powerful the sovereign is, but neither does he know how terrifying I am. To be honest, you've always been a loser." As soon as he finished, the evil god was enraged between his eyebrows. The word loser could not help but explode with anger in his heart. At this moment, another person stepped out of the darkness. Hanba. Hanba looked at Long Fei and said, "We finally meet." Long Fei had said that he would wait for him at battleground. He did not expect to suddenly appear here. "You?" Hanba replied, "I belong to the Dark Army." "Long Fei, we need your help. Can you help me this once?" How arrogant was Hanba in the gods' martial continent. How arrogant was he? He was overweeningly arrogant. They didn't put anyone in their eyes, but now it had become like this. This was also because this was the primordial divine war, and the current Long Fei was no longer the Long Fei of the gods' martial continent. Standing next to him was the Black Legion's most powerful paragon, the evil god. Hanba had helped Long Fei before. He had also helped the gods' martial continent. Luoshi and the others wouldn't be able to break through as quickly as Hanba, so he was very grateful to Hanba in his heart. This time, without waiting for Long Fei to reject, the corners of the evil god's eyes twitched. Hanba immediately knelt on the ground and said, "Long Fei, I beg you, please help me this once." Long Fei immediately stepped forward and supported Hanba, saying, "You don't need to do this." Hanba didn't get up and said, "We really need your help." After hesitating for a moment, he continued, "The Dark Army has already left the Red River unguarded. If we retreat any further, we will completely be chased out of the battleground, and the entrance to the darkness will be sealed off. We won't even have a chance left." The expression in the evil god's eyes darkened slightly. Long Fei exhaled a breath of relief in his heart and said, "All right, I'll help you." "How?" Hanba looked at the evil god and said excitedly, "Bring your brother and follow me into the battleground. As long as you can help me fight my way back to the Red River, that will be fine." What did the battleground look like? How dangerous is it inside? Long Fei did not know either, but he knew that Hanba had helped him before and also fought together with him. Brother is in trouble. Then he had to help. Long Fei said as his heart trembled, "Then let's enter the battleground in advance and warm up first to see what exactly is going on inside." Long Fei nodded. "All right, I'll help you." The evil god became excited. Both his hands formed a seal, and the idea moved. The void door opened in a flash. This is the way to the battleground. Chapter 2046. Welcome to the League of Heroes. Chapter 2046. Welcome to the League of Heroes, looking at the gate that led to the battleground. It was the entrance to darkness. Main Temple was the entrance to the light. They were like a treasure that could recognize its master, and their master could summon them at will. Once Long Fei obtained the ancient entry, he could summon it at will and bring it back to the Devil Island, allowing the brothers on the Devil Island to attack and go in. Long Fei looked at the entrance and did not step in immediately. Instead, he asked, "Where is my brother?" The evil god said, "They are already waiting for you inside." Long Fei looked at Hanba. Hanba nodded. Long Fei laughed and asked, "If I did not go, wouldn't my brotherhood have died in there?" The evil god's eyes twitched, but he did not reply. Long Fei didn't wait for him to reply and said, "I understand." Finished. Long Fei took a step into the entrance and thought in his heart, "Motherf asterisk cur, touch my brother? This account shall be noted down by you first." Long Fei was a vengeful man. He only had one principle for those who dared to touch his brother: to turn him over, to kill him, and to get pregnant. From the moment Long Fei entered the Deep Abyss Mountain, he felt that something was amiss. He never thought that the evil god would personally come out and set up such a huge trap for him. Long Fei could resist, but Hanba's kneeling made his heart soften. Again, he also wanted to see what a heaven-defying change of fate looked like. Even it could control 100,000 planes. He was to become the paragon of 100,000 planes. Long Fei really wanted to know what kind of world it was. The corner of the evil god's mouth curled up into a smile. He glanced at Hanba from the corner of his eyes and said, "Not bad." "Ha ha ha. If Long Fei is of use to me, then I can kill my way back to the Red River when the time comes." The evil god laughed in excitement. Long Fei's strength had greatly exceeded his expectations, and adding the laws which Long Fei controlled, he believed that he was definitely able to control the entire situation within the battleground. And then the evil god also stepped into the entrance. Hanba looked at the dark entrance and muttered, "Long Fei, thank you." With a cold frown on his forehead, he followed suit. He wanted to change the world, to change the rules of the law, but he realized that even if Battleground won, he would still be unable to change this world. Because even if a sovereign were to perish and the evil god were to replace him, this world would still be the same as before, with no changes whatsoever. He was a little confused now. Who am I fighting for? Why am I fighting? It was as if he had lost the direction of his life. Hanba's heart was very complicated, but after Long Fei entered the battleground, his heart became even more complicated. Right or wrong? The entrance was like a time tunnel. A dark light shrouded the area. Suddenly, the strong light was blinding, causing Long Fei to be unable to open his eyes. He stood on a sacrificial altar. The stones beneath his feet had carvings of all sorts of runes. Flashing fluorescent light. Li Yuanba, Sky Spirit. Ziyu was standing right beside him. All this was normal. Very normal. The three of them looked very normal. But Long Fei was abnormal. It was more accurate to say that his system was out of order. Suddenly, a voice that left him dumbfounded and unable to be understood rang out. "Ding! Welcome to the Hero Alliance." Damn! Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! What an old mother! Long Fei didn't know whether to be excited or shocked, or simply indescribably excited. The battleground is the battlefield of the Hero Alliance? What the hell? Long Fei shook his head, not daring to believe what he had just heard. This is an illusion. This must be an illusion. This must be an illusion. I am obviously in the primordial divine battlefield. Why would I enter the Hero Alliance? This is the Walleran continent. This is Demacia. Is it some kind of bird? This feeling was exactly the same as the first time Long Fei teleported to the gods' Martial Continent. He was really stupefied and was even more muddled than the last time he teleported. Because right now, Long Fei had completely accepted this world, accepted this identity, and suddenly said, "Welcome to the Hero Alliance." All of a sudden, he was completely stupefied. Long Fei looked at Li Yuanba and asked, "Yuanba, do you feel anything unusual?" Li Yuanba scratched his big bald head. With a serious look on his face, he looked around and said naively, "Boss, I didn't feel anything was wrong." Long Fei looked at the Sky Spirit, and the Sky Spirit also muttered, "There's nothing abnormal about it." Without waiting for Long Fei to ask, Zi shook his head and said, "Everything is normal." Holy *T. Am I the one who is abnormal? Long Fei muttered and looked around him. The altar beneath his feet was like a spring, and in front of him was a gigantic crystal pillar of light. "Isn't this the base?" Long Fei could no longer hold it in and thought, "They don't have a system, so everything looks normal. I have the system. It's just that there's something wrong with it." But, Master System, is this really the Hero Alliance? Is there a shop for our Kali? Are there any main city cannons? Do you have an arrow tower? Do you have the automatically generated little soldier Luo? He kept asking himself. Long Fei continuously searched the system, but he was unable to find anything. His heart trembled slightly as he thought to himself, could it be that the name of this battleground is Hero Alliance? It can't be that coincidental, right? At this time, a black light flashed, and the evil god appeared. Looking at Long Fei's dazed expression, he smiled lightly and said, "This is the Darkness Alliance. On your left-hand side, there is a dark shop which contains the supplies you guys want as well as all sorts of things you need. I will give each of you 500 special contribution points, and the contribution points are the battleground's currency. The more people you kill, the more contribution points you will receive. With contribution points, you can buy anything you want." The evil god's eyebrows moved. At this time, the system sounded out in Long Fei's mind. "Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining 500 gold coins. F***CK. I knew it. King knew it." Long Fei had the urge to die, but it could also be said that he was indescribably excited. Others were getting contribution points. As for him, it was the starting gold coin of the Hero Alliance when they first came out, 500 gold coins. Moreover, looking in the direction in which the evil god had gone just now, the so-called dark shop was definitely a Kali's shop. Damn it! That's not right. It's very deadly. Long Fei felt bitter in his heart. In his previous life, he had played games and fought his way through. However, speaking of games, who can compare to Long Fei? Hero Alliance? Even though Long Fei didn't play much, but with his gaming experience, he had a superb understanding of the game and his ability of consciousness. How could stomping over Battleground be a matter of words? Come on. Chapter 2047 Standard Primary School Students. Chapter 2047 Standard Primary School Students. Long Fei quickly adjusted himself. It didn't matter if this was the real Hero Alliance or the real Battleground. Do it, then you must do it to the best of your abilities. Once again stepping into the game to fight for hegemony, Long Fei had an indescribable feeling in his heart, an indescribable excitement. At this time, the evil god said, "Each of you can only choose 3 cultivation techniques. Once you kill a certain number of people, you will automatically activate a cultivation technique that belongs to you. This cultivation technique requires the accumulated contribution points you have accumulated, and it can be exchanged directly without your consent. This kind of special cultivation technique is very powerful. Once you leave this place, it will automatically disappear. When you enter this place a second time, it will still be here. Also, you must remember, do your best to kill their martial artists. Their martial artists' contribution points are the highest. Once they reach a certain amount of contribution points, they can directly exchange for the power of law. All right, let's enter and choose as soon as possible. 3 types of cultivation techniques: Q, W, E, and a special cultivation technique that was automatically activated to level 6, which was also the ultimate move, are couldn't believe that it wasn't the Hero Alliance. Long Fei said in a low voice, ZU, you should choose your heaven listening technique and the power of your vision expansion. Then speed. Yuan Ba, Big Meat Shield. There was no doubt that Li Yuanba was the super tank that was stronger than the 6 pieces of defensive equipment, which meant that he was much stronger than them. You chose to use a defensive cultivation technique as your base. Also, count your Titan in 2. Li Yuanba innocently smiled and said, okay. He would do whatever Long Fei said. With Long Fei, he did not need to bring his brain around and just follow what Long Fei said. Long Fei looked at the Sky Spirit again and said, you are Yuling Guardian Warrior, Ghost Vein Art, Long Range Control, DPS, and later you and Z, you will be walking together. Li Yuanba as a meat, a powerful tank. On the way, Heaven Spirit was good at controlling the power of the Ghost Vein skill. It could be used as an ADC from a distance. Violet Moon was the support. There was only one person left. The evil god couldn't hide the astonishment in his heart when he saw Long Fei's command. He said with incomparable shock in his heart, he came here before? It seems to be very familiar. He had come before? Long Fei had died at least 10,000 times on this map. It could be said that from the spring water of his own faction to the spring water of his enemies, he had died. How could he not be familiar with such a map? Long Fei looked at the evil god. The evil god immediately said, I am unable to join the battle. These are the battlegrounds rules. I can only command them. Long Fei replied, I'm not looking at you. I'm looking at Han Ba behind you. You. Without waiting for Long Fei to speak, Han Ba said, my cultivation technique has already been determined. What do you want me to do? Long Fei didn't understand Han Ba in particular. His power was strong in the god's martial continent, but the current plane was different, and the restriction of power was also different. So how could he be as strong as he was in the god's martial continent? However, now Long Fei had no other choice and said, all right, then you go. Han Ba slightly nodded. All right. He did not know who was fighting for. He had invited Long Fei in. He knew that if Long Fei did not agree, the evil god would take action. No matter what, I will fight for you. After a few seconds, everyone nodded and said, we have chosen our cultivation techniques. Long Fei said, Ziyu, Tianling, you two go down the road and control the rhythm. Don't start killing as you please. Wait for my order. Han Ba, you are in the middle of killing the enemy's soldiers. Yuan Ba, go ahead, kill whoever you can. If you can't kill the opponent, you must at least suppress him. Remember, do not enter the attacking range of the enemy's archery tower. Long Fei said quickly. The 4 of them were stunned. He did not understand half of Long Fei's words either. Han Ba was still all right. After all, he had been to the battlefield before. Li Yuanba and the other 2 were completely dumbfounded. Evil God said, based on my understanding towards the Light faction, they will definitely send 2 people. I do not doubt Li Yuanba's strength, but this place is different from the outside. Without money, it was equivalent to having no equipment. Without equipment, no matter how skilled you are, you won't be able to do it. GG only. And if it's really the same as the Hero Alliance, a 2v1, Then the pressure will be huge. Then we'll have to take all the pressure on the road. However, hearing the evil god's words, Long Fei laughed in his heart. 2 on the road, empty the wilderness. Ha ha ha. A primary school student, a standard primary school student. Li Yuanba said, Boss, I'll be fine by myself. Long Fei said, Then you should change your mind a little now, and if you can't win, don't go all out, and just maintain your growth. Li Yuanba replied, Okay. After he was done, Long Fei said, Prepare to kill. Ziyu doubtfully asked, We already have a spot, but what about you? After he asked, everyone looked at Long Fei. Yeah, boss, where are you going? Do you command? Li Yuanba said naively, As long as boss commands, we don't have to go out. I will kill him alone for 180,000, no problem. With an excited laugh, the celestial spirit responded, I completely agree. At this moment, laughter came from behind the altar. Long Fei looked at the evil god. The evil god coughed lightly. A group of people walked up from behind the altar. Each of them had a high level of cultivation, and each of them was a high god peak realm. Everyone had scars on their bodies. They were all the martial generals of the evil god. One of them could not help but smile. Command, directed from the altar? Ha ha ha. Lord Evil God, I am truly sorry. I really cannot control it. Ha ha ha. Some of the surrounding martial officers could not help but laugh at him. Li Yuanba was in a bad mood. His eyes darkened. The same was true for the heavenly spirit. Its aura became gloomy. Long Fei laughed faintly and said, Even if you can't control it, you still have to. That man's smile faded as he said disdainfully, Just the 5 of you? Humph, it's not like I said that a round will result in a team wipeout. Furthermore, they're even on the road with a meat shield and are going offline to assist them. What are they talking about? Do you know where this is? Do you understand the rules of the battleground? Do you understand? While they were talking, the generals all had expressions of contempt, as if they were looking at a 3-year-old child. In their eyes, the tactic that Long Fei had just set up was useless and would be defeated in an instant. Long Fei shrugged and spread out his hands, saying, I don't understand. Then why did your boss still invite me? How about this? Let's go back. We don't understand anyways. Long Fei was too lazy to waste time with him. The evil god's eyes darkened. He berated, Ming Wu, pay attention. Ming Wu was not convinced. Master, I don't care how strong he is outside or what kind of god he has killed, but this is the battleground. Do you really want to hand over the fate of the Darkness Alliance to him? You're willing. We don't want to. As soon as he finished, many of the generals took a step forward with a heavy shout and immediately stood in front of Long Fei's group of 4. Ha! You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.